do we have the form to do the determination of significance?
This and this.
Yeah.
Now we're going. Got you.
Put the light. Okay, I'll call to order. Of the planning board for Grand Justice. Start with the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Stacey, would you call the roll, please?
Chair Jones,
Here.
member Nelson.
Here.
Member Roberts.
Yeah.
Member Fetcher.
Yeah.
Member Pinsky.
Yeah.
Member Farnwell here, and member Rita absent. Dave Gordon, Dave Church, and Christian.
We're already filling on.
Yep.
Okay, so just one item of note, yes, yep. The Marsh Act project is not on the agenda. The Bill notified us that the applicant is taking a pass tonight, so that won't be on the agenda. And Bill, at some point, we need to talk about Gun Farms, but we'll talk maybe tomorrow.
Okay.
What the next steps for that is.
Yep.
Okay. So the first item on the agenda is the public hearing for Alex and Amy Lewis. They have property on 95 Lower Whitfield Road. The public hearing, we need to reopen it. We closed it erroneously last time, so we said we reopen it today. So I'm reopening the public hearing. And we did that because we have to do the determination of significance in the context of that public hearing, and then close the public hearing after it, or ask if there's any public comments and then close the public hearing. So I erred in that 3 weeks ago. So I'm opening up the public hearing for the Lewis project. Is there anybody here who wants to speak about the Lewis project? Going once, going twice. Okay, so let's do the seek a determination.
Are you?
Pass out some forms. And some more.
Okay. I'm doing that
No, we're doing that.
during the public meetings.
Because, yeah, yes.
Okay.
Okay, everybody's familiar with this. Anybody have any? Number one, will the proposed action create a material conflict with the adopted land use plan or zoning? I'm just gonna rattle through it if anybody has an objection. In fact, I'm not even gonna read them. I think you're familiar with them. I'm just gonna announce the number, say what I think it is. If you object, please let me know and we'll talk about it. So number one, I believe is no or small impact. Number two, will it change the intensity of the land? No or small impact. Three, will the action impair the character and quality of the existing community? No or small impact. Will the proposed action have any impact on the CEA? No or small impact. Will the proposed action result in an adverse change to traffic? Or affect infrastructure for mass transit, biking, or walkway? No or small impact. Will proposed action cause an increase in the use of energy? No or small impact. Will the proposed action impact existing public or private water supplies? No or small impact. Public or private wastewater treatment? No or small impact. Will the proposed action impair the quality of important historic, archaeological, architectural, or aesthetic resources? No or small impact. Will the proposed action result in an adverse change in natural resources? No or small impact. Will the proposed action result in an increase in the potential for erosion, flooding, or drainage problems? No or small impact. Will the proposed action create a hazard to the environmental resources or human health? No or small impact. Does anybody have any objections to any of that which we just okay. So I will entertain a motion to declare this to be a make a negative declaration in terms of determination of significance. And we'll do a roll call on that. So a motion to proceed.
I make a motion.
Hans makes the motion.
I'll second.
Jennifer seconds it. And we'll do a roll call. Stacy, would you do a roll call on this?
Yeah.
What is the roll call about?
Just for.
When we do the
basic.
vote on this, we're supposed to do a roll call on the
Okay.
speaker. I'm not sure we always follow that, but somebody pointed that out to me.
Okay.
So in this case, an I would be a negative.
That's what.
Yes.
That's
Okay, Chair Jones,
Aye.
Member Nelson,
Aye.
Member Roberts,
Aye.
Member Fisherin,
I.
Member Pinsky, Member Carmel. Aye.
Okay, so we have 6 in favor, and 1 absence. So I think Counselor, we've done.
Something like that, yeah.
Okay. So I checked off the box. I will sign it before I leave tonight, so we'll just leave
Yes.
it out.
We have to close the public hearing.
Yeah, I entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Peter? Zorian seconds. All in favor of closing the public hearing?
Aye.
I.
All right, Bill, so we did the negative deck. And then Dave Church, don't go away, Bill. Will you be able to do the decision by the 13th on this one?
Sure.
Okay, so Bill will have a decision on the 13th,
You said.
which is 2 weeks from
Yeah.
tonight.
No.
Jennifer.
Jennifer said it.
Okay.
So.
We're good, Bill?
Yep.
Okay, and you have to hang around for another one, right?
I'm gonna be like, I don't know, but rabbit or Jack in the Box or something. But like every other one, I'll be here.
Good imitation of a
Good
jacket
place.
box.
In good shape, you.
Next one is public hearing for dignified dwellings. This public hearing is still open. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
So we're just gonna do the public hearing now. And then we have you on the agenda for regular order to go through whatever else we need to catch up on. So we're just gonna continue the public hearing. So is there anybody here who wants to speak to this project? Project being dignified dwellings? Okay. I'm gonna leave the public hearing open. We still need to do the determination of significance. And after we, let's wait until we get to the regular order. Number of things I want to talk about. I'm sure you have some updates for me. So the public hearing is still open right now. And we're gonna go to the next item on the agenda. Okay.
Would you be doing your secret determination now, or?
Let's wait until after we discuss the whole project later on, and I have no problem. We'll say we might do the determination of significance later,
Okay,
if it's appropriate, and could even close the public hearing.
okay.
All right, but I'm gonna wait till later because there are things that the board wants to talk about. All right, Jorian, what's the name of the next project?
Where else? I'm in Grant.
I call it ski slope.
No, you good.
No, no,
Public hearing.
Verizon.
Verizon's public.
Oh,
You're looking at the old one.
I'm looking at the old one. Larry's having a connection out there. All right, so the next item on the agenda is Verizon. Good evening, Scott.
Good evening.
All right, so I'm not gonna comment too much on this one. Everybody has their variety of emails on this. It's a late arrival as a public hearing item. Stacy got it on the agenda 24 and a half hours before the 6:30 deadline, 6:30 PM deadline to get it back onto the agenda. So the public hearing for Verizon is open. Does anybody want to comment on the Verizon project?
I believe there are some other people who are coming, but I don't think they expected it to come up this quickly. Could we, if there's no one else that shows up when I'm done, can we hold it over? You go to a couple of the other applications and then come back?
Yeah, I can come back. We can move the timing of the public hearing as long as we don't move it up. We can certainly move it back. So I'll delay the public hearing. But not forever, not forever.
No, but I am expecting other people.
So what would, so you don't want, so we'll wait.
Whatever suits you.
Just do it.
We okay with just delaying it?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll wait. You can sit down, Larry. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so the next project is ski slope. Sorry, Scott,
It's okay.
we're here for the duration anyway, right?
I think I am. Hey.
All right, so this was a lot line change, if everybody remembers, this was a property that had the lot line going through the middle of a house. So. I guess you could say it's appropriate to do a lot line change. This is a lot line deletion. Bill, do you have anything you want to say?
No, that's it. It's a lot line, improvement. To move the line from through the house to, there's two existing houses on two separate lots, but one of them is on the line. So move the line. Moving the situation. That,
Okay, do we have escrow? We had asked for $150 in escrow.
I believe so.
Bill, did you deliver escrow to us?
I didn't. Somebody else may
I'm
have.
pretty sure we did, but I'll double check. That's gotta figure out. How to do that.
All right, while she's checking, I'll go through the decision. If we don't have it, Bill, we can proceed, but I'm just not gonna sign the map until we get the escrow. And it was $150 we'd asked for. So you all have a decision? It's not in your, you'll have to look at the,
Fine.
Oh, it's posted on.
it's online.
Yeah.
It's in,
Yeah, I am. I have escrow.
you have escrow? Okay. It's on Munich Collab under review.
It's on the agenda on Munich Lab.
Okay, that's right. Thank you. All right, so I'm gonna skim through this and mention the pertinent things. So this is a approval for a lot line for ski slope. Reason for request, applicant Celine De Flaminio and Marina, owners of tax parcels, two tax parcels, wish to improve the pre-existing non-conformity of the lots and to address a lot line transecting an existing building. Both affected parcels are pre-existing and non-conforming. Lot line improvement will improve this non-conformity and is consistent with the town of Rochester zoning board of appeals area variance decision cited below. So this had been worked by the ZBA many years ago. Both tax parcels known as 19 and 21 Ski Slope Road have access to Trails End Road via Ski Slope Road. Zoning is lot 2. The planning board has reviewed the plat and certifies the lot improvement proposed will meet town of Rochester lot requirements, will improve the ability of existing parcel to comply with setback, road access, or other standards for R2 zoning district. And for recording purposes only, further represents an exempt lot improvement in accordance with section 125(18) of the town of Rochester subdivision regulations. No subdivision approval is required or given by the planning board. The planning board further grants the authority to the chairman to sign the plat certifying the lot improvements for filing purposes without further resolution upon receipt of the chairman's determination that the map plat meets the requirements of the code and is in agreement with the survey plan and maps provided for review. And then it just goes on to talk about the notes that have to be on the map. In the last paragraph, the owner shall file in the office of Ulster County Clerk such certified plat bearing the chairman's signature and notes 1 and 2 above within 62 days of this certification. The owner shall have the responsibility to return 4 Ulster County Clerk certified copies of the plat to the town of Rochester Planning Board within 30 days of filing. Anybody have any questions with this or comments? Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Peter,
Second.
Jen, All in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Anybody opposed? So 6, and 1 absence. Okay, Bill, you've done with that one.
Yep. If somebody else is after me, but I have no agenda.
There you go. All right,
Yes, but they're not here, so
thank you, Bill.
they're not coming.
Oh, okay, so.
So if you wanna just hang out rather than jumping up and down. No, Baxter's not coming.
Baxter's not coming, so who's representing the Monica?
You said he didn't have to come. Cause they're just doing a decision.
No, I said that about, Lewis. Okay. All right,
He drove, he's in Sullivan.
so this one is also on the, on Unica Lab. This is, the lot improvement for La Monica. Everybody have it?
Yep.
You sure? All right, so. This is a lot line improvement. The reason for the request is Diane and Anthony LaMonica, owners of tax parcels, 2 tax parcels. Proposed to remove a lot line and combine the 2 existing parcels into a single parcel. One parcel has an existing occupied dwelling which will remain. The second, a 2-bedroom dwelling and a hunting camp on the same parcel will be removed. Both parcels currently meet, and the new combined parcel will continue to meet the requirements of the town code, section 125-18, with respect to approving lot line adjustments. I won't read. This is standard, similar to what we just read for ski slopes, so I'm going to skip that. Page 2. Number 1 and 2 are the notes that have to be on the plat. Interesting enough, I learned something new. And it was pointed out that only land surveyors, based on a lot line, are allowed to survey or present or sign such a map. But our code allows a professional engineer to do it. And so anyway, everything is good with that. The owner shall file, and this is standard fare, talking about filing with the county clerk and bringing copies back to us. So anyway, it's fairly cut and dry. Anybody have any questions?
No.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve.
Hans, Zorian will second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Chair votes yes. Okay, that's. Okay, let's do this. Okay, the last one is Shanker. Again, a lot line. That's also. Marika,
It's
how are you? Do you or Bill have any comments you want to make?
No.
No,
Just,
okay.
had 2 existing lots in the same ownership and deleting the line between them. They've got an existing house on one lot and the driveway comes in on the other, so.
Okay, this is the one that was required, it was necessary to do this because there had been a stop work order on a building that was being built on the other property that was owned by the same, both properties were owned by the same owner. What there was no approval gotten, and even if there was, it was an accessory dwelling that requires a primary dwelling on the lot. So this one, there were a lot of questions from the board the last time, I believe. Is everybody okay with this one?
Yeah, I just had a question. You're gonna be able to meet all the setbacks with the, because I know there's some discussion about the lot line between the neighboring property. So there was,
We will meet the setbacks.
okay.
And you do know you have to go back. Nothing we're doing here. Approves whatever it was that you're doing before that you didn't have approval for, you still have to get back to it.
Approval.
You have approval
We
now?
had approval
You had approval,
before we started. They just, the site plan was incorrect, so they stopped it. So we will go to the town and ask them
Okay.
if we can,
So this is just to get rid of that lot line,
That's
not
right.
approve the positioning of any of the buildings, you understand that?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so, same basic information, different, parties. I'll read the reason for the request. Ravi Shankar, owner of 2 tax parcels, proposes to remove a lot line and combine these 2 existing parcels into a single parcel. One of the parcels has an existing occupied dwelling and improvement, including driveway access to Doug Road over an existing parcel, all of which will remain. Both affected parcels currently meet and will continue to meet the requirements of the town code, section 125-18, with respects to approving lot line adjustments. The next paragraph is standard verbiage, as are the 2 notes that have to go on the map. All right, so you'll have to have those notes. I think they are on the map already. And then the last paragraph talks about needing my signature and bringing it to the county and getting us copies back. So I think you're good to go, except for the vote. So I'll entertain a vote to approve this lot line. Dave Roberts, second.
Second.
Jennifer? All in favor?
Aye.
Any- Just note that Hans is abstaining. Chair votes aye, so we have 5 ayes, 1 absence and 1 abstention. Okay. You're good. As soon as you get me that map, I will sign them.
Okay, excellent.
Can you re-sign the phone?
No, I'll leave this.
Tear it up.
I will.
They don't.
I just need another witness.
Like dyslexia, it's kicking in.
326.
Okay,
Very-
Hemlock.
Okay.
Bill, talk to me.
The bill right here, joking.
Want me to talk first?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so the Hemlock Ventures, they were before us, prior back in February. And we rejected, their proposal. Principally because we felt that, this client, what they wanted to do. In moving the lot line of the smaller parcel to the middle of the larger parcel. Violated our, the town code. That no subdivision of an existing parcel is allowed, without coming back to the planning board. So we rejected, the project. I then requested the ZBA to weigh in, which was after the fact. And they just said, you already made a decision, there's nothing for us to do. And they suggested to the applicant, good evening, to go back to the building department, reapply, let the new building inspector make a determination, which he did. And it was for a lot line, and then to come back here to the planning board. So, the applicant is here for the same reason that he was here before, under the same determination of lot line. And, so it's open for discussion, it's open for, either the applicant or the applicant's, representative to speak. Do you guys want to talk first? Go ahead.
Okay, so, yeah, I'm just here, I'm just saying that you now had a second determination from a second code enforcement officer that this is a lot line improvement, not a subdivision. My understanding, we've got kind of like 2 pieces of evidence coming from people whose job it is to be the professional that interprets the code, enforces the code, and understands the code. So I'm hoping that will change some opinions on the board. If not, then my understanding from the zoning board meeting was that the next step is that you guys, as the planning board, are supposed to appeal the decision of the code enforcement officer to the ZBA. If you don't agree with that decision. And not to just deny the application. Like happened last time.
So,
That's all I have to say.
okay, so the applicant is correct. If this is the second determination that it's a lot line. So if the board disagrees, we would need to go back to the ZBA with an appeal of the CEO's determination of the lot line. I gave everybody a copy of the town code, section 125-18. And we'll,
This is in the package.
I don't think it's in the package.
It's in the package.
Is it in the package?
It's right in front of Hemlock's map and
There's two copies, one for each of the partners here. Did you find it?
Yeah.
Yeah, Dave, you got it? Hans and Peter?
Oh, this looks like.
There should be two of them there. All right, so this is the code from 125-18. I have an abbreviated version that just shows me the four qualifications for something to be a lot line. So the code reads, parcels shall, to qualify as lot improvements, involve the addition of land to an existing parcel or lot line adjustment so as to, and this is where I'm gonna go one by one, and either you guys can make a comment, I'll read them all, or if you want to make a comment after I read one, as to whether or not you agree that the CEO's determination was correct based on your read of this. And we do have the ability, even though the building department is an expert in these matters, we do have the ability to disagree, and that's the purpose of the ZBA, if we disagree. So the first one, and I won't give my opinion yet, unless nobody says anything, and then I'll just throw something out there as to what my opinion is. So the first one is improve the ability of that parcel to comply with setback or other building standards. Does anybody have any comment on that one?
That's one or the other.
Hans,
Nope.
I'm getting no's on this one?
Yeah.
Okay. Does everybody agree that it's a no? Okay. B, increase the suitability of the parcel for building development. I'll point out that the smaller lot can be developed, it meets all the zoning standards and could be developed. And the parcel that they wish to break off of the bigger parcel, if it were to be subdivided, is certainly suitable with access over the smaller parcel. So conceptually, you're not improving the ability of the parcel to be for building development. It has the potential for it. This doesn't make it any better or worse.
The language is suitability, right?
I can't hear you.
Is the word used suitability?
It says increase the suitability of the parcel for building development.
So I would argue that by making it a larger lot, it's more suitable for building a house. It's more valuable. It's a better.
Well, it
lot.
may be more saleable, that's true, but I think suitability refers to zoning suitability. By moving land around, something that may not meet the code, it now meets the code by borrowing property, if you were to moving property from one parcel that meets the code. When it loses that part of the property, and you add it someplace else, and it now makes it zoning suitable for building. So I would say no. Does anybody disagree? Go ahead, Jay.
Maybe it's on here and I'm missing it. What's the current lot size? What's the acreage for
Smaller lot?
the smaller one?
2 acres.
Two, and it's an R2? Thank you.
Okay.
More or less.
C, add to the availability of open space. We're getting no's. I don't believe it meets that qualification. D, adjust the boundary line location or produce a corrected deed if a map reflecting the same is desired. for recording purposes. I don't think it meets that either. So is there anybody on the board that believes that this is a lot line? Given what are the gating factors for a lot line?
You're talking about general or this particular paragraph? You're talking about general or this particular paragraph?
I'm sorry, John.
You're talking about this particular paragraph, subparagraph, or you asking about application?
The four qualifications that make a lot line, does anybody agree that this proposal meets any one of these? You just need to meet one of them.
Partially,
What?
partially, if a small lot added to big lot, this is perfect lot line adjustment.
It's
Without subdividing, just addition of small lot to big lot, it's a perfect subdivide, it's a perfect lot line adjustment. Based on our experience as a board, and I'm on a board for 7 years. And never anybody showed up to combine lot lines with subdivision.
Okay,
And I'm not quite understand why it's so complicated to make a lot line adjustment, make a property bigger, and divide it into two parts. And it's a separate application.
so
I'm-
if I understand you correctly, and I don't want to put words in your mouth. You're suggesting that this should be both a subdivision and a lot line.
two separate applications,
Well, two separate actions, which we
Right.
can have, we can do at one time.
right?
Okay.
Provided
All right.
one is lot line adjustment and another.
So
one is-
again, I'm not putting words in your mouth. You don't agree that this is simply a lot line.
Right.
Okay. Is that the sense of the board?
I
Dawn?
still think you could argue that suitability is not necessarily in the sense of planning. It's in the sense of adding value and then increasing value. So I no see kind of that this is a definition from planning. So I would disagree.
Rick, I
Yep.
think you need to go through points two
Yeah,
and
before
three.
you decide on this, you only read from A1.
Okay, that's all I have on.
Well, there are three subsections,
Go ahead.
A1, A2, and A3, so you actually read four kind of clauses in A1, but there's two other criteria the board should be aware of from A2 and A3. A2 says this. Well, I just. Good. A2, not reduce in other words, to qualify as a lot line improvement, there are two more criteria. And they're not, unfortunately, it's not clear whether they're connected by ands or ors. Not reduce the ability of the lot from which the lot improvement parcel is taken.
Two,
Thank you. Not reduce the ability of the lot from which the lot improvement parcel is taken or reconfigured to comply with the applicable development standards of this chapter. And 3 says, include a map restriction to the effect the improvement parcel will never be considered a separate building lot apart from the tract to which it is being added. Does everybody have that or need me to read it again?
There you go.
So this is A2 and A3 and 120, what is it, 125-18.
does everybody have that?
Yeah,
So Dave, do you have a comment about that?
Me?
Yep.
I think it clearly complies with number 2.
yeah.
Number 3,
55 as well.
if he's willing to put in a map restriction, he's got number 3 as well. I'm not sure if he's considered that, if he's looked at this, but Bill has. But I think he's got 2. He could have 3, and it's not clear whether 1, 2, and 3 are connected with ands or ors.
So I have, aside from the fact that the previous subdivision said that it should come back to for reconsideration under that. I also would like to note that the conditions that were included in the previous subdivision are not included in this map, including a wetland buffer, notification of rattlesnakes, potential rattlesnake habitat, and I believe a no build area in the previous subdivision, so I would be agreeable that this could be a lot line improvement if those are included on this map. I'd also like to ask a question that the proposed dwelling, is that where you're planning on putting it?
Just put that.
I would say like not exactly, but more or less. I would say Felicia, no, you might wanna come back if you guys are amenable. We can include whatever things you'd like and we'll adjust that well.
It's not what I would like, it's what's on the previous subdivision. So it's not what I would like, it's what's on the previous subdivision.
You're talking
The
about-
problem is with these things is they get left off. And this, somebody looked at this map, they wouldn't know that there was rattlesnake habitat there or wetlands or a no build zone. So that's why it should be, in my opinion, included on this map. And then also, you know, I've seen a couple of maps now in different variations with the proposed dwelling in different places. And there was one where it was up higher on the property, closer in line with the other building that you're building now, correct?
Yes, we've like. This isn't exactly where it would go, but I think the drawing you're referring to is some sort of plan that I had made very early on in the process. I think that where the location of the dwelling would go is. I'm not sure if this is exactly germane to the conversation about the lot line adjustment, but it would probably go somewhere very close to where that lot line is going to be deleted between the two.
So I think the problem Peter's having, and maybe others are having, I think we've had at least 3, if not 4 maps. First map that we saw early on had the property, had the house on the larger lot, in the corner of that larger lot, up from the square smaller lot. The next map that we saw had no house on it whatsoever. That was the map that we rejected when we voted against it, against doing this as a lot line. This map had, or rather the next map from 10 days ago had no house on it. And now this map, so it's 4 maps, this map from 6 days ago has the house on the square lot. So I think this board might be receptive, and I think this is where Peter is going. If you locate where the house is going to be precisely, and we put notes on the map showing the buffer zone, you can't have the house and other structures in the buffer zone. Buffer zone will be around the wetlands on the larger piece of property. So all that has to be shown on the map, where that buffer zone is. And that there's also an identification that this area has been found to have timber rattlesnakes, not maybe, but it has been. The previous owner, when he subdivided, was required to identify where those dens were. So we would need for you either to research that, find out where the dens were, or to find out where they are on this subdivided portion of the bigger property, and indicate that there are dens there. And on the map, indicate that those areas are not buildable and that the dens cannot be impacted in any fashion. So you would have some work to do in the field or through researching whatever you got from the only person you bought the large property from to identify where those dens are and make statements that they will not be, if they're there, that they will not be disturbed. So that might be a way to get around this and avoid it being sent back to the ZBA by this board, if that's where the board wants to go.
I think the previous, have you seen the previous subdivision map? Do you look at that?
I have seen the plat, and I have not seen anything about locations of rattlesnakes.
Yeah, so in the notes on the previous subdivision, it said, timber rattlesnakes, the upper reaches of the property may contain foraging areas for timber rattlesnakes as a precautionary measure. Site work must be conducted between, or site work conducted between April 1st and October 31st will require placement of temporary silt fencing to be placed around the entire area of disturbance. There's also a no build area. And I'm asking whether you looked at it before, because you know the 100-foot buffer comes quite a way into the top, I guess it would be the north side of that property towards the other house. So in the previous
Okay, I mean, I've seen something with a 100-foot buffer from the wetlands.
Right.
And we do not plan to go within that 100-foot buffer.
Okay, well, yeah. Go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, I was just agreeing, right, the 100-foot buffer. And should have been on this map here, I know I had it in mind to do it, I'm sorry, I didn't get it on here. First thing we put in was, we've been just trying to get, for I don't know how many months now, get a determination. What are we doing here? I don't even know what to call this. Is this a lot line improvement map or is it a subdivision map? That's all I wanna know. And then I could put some details on here. I don't wanna go too far with this mapping, if we don't even know if it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
I'd be happy to go and put rattlesnake notes on there and everything, fine, but can we just get through these first question is to, what are we doing?
That's a valid question, but it's a question for us as well, because, you know, it looks at the surface, it looks like a subdivision. And the previous note said that you had to come back for any further subdivision of that property. So there was a big argument about semantics, about whether you're moving, still ending up with 2 lots or 3 lots or, you know, moving lot lines. And I'm okay with it being a lot line improvement, but these notes are omitted and the house's proposed dwelling has moved around. So I just want to be sure that it's not going to violate any of the notes that were contingencies that were in there before, because that is something that does happen as things go down the road. And, you know, building department, if they looked at the map that was submitted, they would let you put that house wherever you wanted to, and you could easily put it, you know, back in the middle of federal wetlands.
Yeah.
Unless there's a note on it, so.
Or where there were rental ones.
I agree with you. I agree, and
So,
I
Go
have
ahead,
an
Jen.
observation, could you remind me? The previous site plan approval restricted further subdivision, correct?
correct,
Just an observation.
without coming back here.
Just an observation that this lot was sold last fall. To the owner, so this to me feels like it's a way to get around requiring a subdivision. That's just my personal opinion and observation.
Rick, can I?
So go ahead.
Can I add? opinion?
Mhm.
Yeah. As a compromise, it should be applied as a subdivision, and lot line could be kind of on its side. Because subdivision, we're considering half a dozen different criteria in order to approve application. If the lot line addresses simple lot line. So if they apply to the subdivision and on the side do lot line, okay, fine, you want to combine it. But not just a lot line, I totally ignore all the criteria required by code to consider subdivision. That was how I see it, you know.
If I, just to remind the board of the context here, if I understand the applicants correctly, the code enforcement officers has ruled that this is a lot line revision, is that right?
Yeah,
That
but in
means,
the past,
let me join. That means if this, for this board to change that, or to otherwise regulate that under the subdivision rules as opposed to lot line, and I think somebody mentioned it before, but I want to remind you. And that's what this question is about now, you'd have to appeal it to the ZBA. That's the question before the board, is whether you want to appeal that designation to the ZBA in order to get the ZBA to agree that it's a subdivision,
Yeah,
and then
and
go back here for.
I would watch for that, because in the past, we had disagreement with this CEO. And we went back.
Went
So-
back to the you appealed it to the ZBA?
No, we were discussing CEO, didn't go to ZBA.
Suppose
but-
in-
But there was a cases when we couldn't understand why CEO qualify applications this way versus another way. This is not first time.
You know, last time I felt that this was a lot line improvement and I voted that way, and I still feel that way because. I'll tell you why. I feel like the distraction is that, you know, this lot line improvement, has kind of splits that property, right? So there's two very large parcels, or large parcels. If we were looking at it adding, you know, if say the revised area, that's 13.7, if that was a little 1.5 or 2 acre piece, we'd say, yeah, it's a lot line improvement, because it would just be adding a smaller piece from the 7.5 to the other. And to me, that would be a very easy decision for this board. But I think the distraction is that it's a larger parcel that we're creating by this lot line improvement. I still think it's a lot line improvement. I think that if there was a further, to your point, restriction for paragraph 3 here, that says that you can't be subdivided any further, then that kind of takes care of everything, because you're not adding another property to this combination here.
I was thinking something similar.
Yeah, so that kind of settles it.
Dave, would you agree that the other distraction is the fact that the map that we have right now doesn't indicate where the buffer zone is?
Oh, yeah, no, it's totally.
And it doesn't indicate-
Absolutely.
Doesn't
have all
indicate
that.
anything about the possibility of timber rattlesnakes.
Absolutely, that's the primary, yeah.
I mean, I'm okay with it being a lot line improvement. I respect the CEO's determination and I don't wanna hold this up, but I also wanna respect the previous subdivision and the notes and the work that's went into that.
Let me
So-
make a suggestion. The criteria A1B, which the chair opined was not, it wouldn't do that, increase the suitability of the parcel for building development. I assume, and the chair specified that that would relate to some type of zoning suitability. But there's also a colloquial interpretation of the word suitability,
Yeah,
right?
okay.
In a bunch of different ways. My guess is that the applicant feels that the lot line revision, or whatever we're gonna call it, would increase the suitability for these purposes without getting into too much detail. The board's concern is the bringing down of the restrictions and perhaps even some added restrictions relating to wetlands or rattlesnakes or whatever. If the board were to explain to the applicant that in the board's view, the suitability was not only the applicant's vision for development, but also whether or not those environmental constraints were loaded back in. And if the applicant were agreeable, the applicant could produce a map saying that, and then they'd have their criteria that the board would want, and the board would have no further interest, I don't think, in in dealing with the subdivision and the appeal that would be necessary. So, I guess, if that makes any sense, would you be willing
I'm
to?
generally amenable to that, but without having understood all the information that you guys with the rattlesnake dens and stuff, I would prefer not to make a binding decision on that at the moment. I'd like to be able to at least understand what have a clear understanding of what all the restrictions are, the rattlesnake dens and the locations of those being specifically something that I was not aware of, where those might be or what the information is about that.
So how about we do this? You get some homework to do. We need a map. I think what you've heard the board say is that if the map reflects the environmental situation as it exists on actually both parcels, I don't believe there's any wetlands on the square parcel. The
There's
small
not to my knowledge.
There actually is on the lower left. corner.
left-hand side.
Yeah,
So if this is properly mapped with all the wetlands, and you go back and look at whatever was in the documents you received from the previous owner with respects to restrictions in terms of rattlesnakes. And we'll do our research too, but it's up to you. We know that there were restrictions placed on the three of these parcels.
That sounds
If
good.
you do that and you establish with us the ability to discuss that, what you found, what we found, then perhaps that's a way of resolving this.
Okay, that sounds like a good path forward. I think just to point out, there is a time limit on this. But I'm not trying to run out the clock or anything like that, so I think it's gonna be like, I will
So,
get this done. I will appear at the next meeting. We'll try to get this taken over.
so we're worried about the time limit also, but I don't know if when we were at the ZBA, you caught what their attorney said, and I didn't record it, but she said, the reality is the law's intent is complete application. When this board has a complete application
Fair.
for a lot line, then the clock can begin. So one could argue that the clock began at the time that we got this on Unicolab as ready for review.
Mhm.
One could say that the clock didn't begin until 6 days ago, which was after that ready for review, because it wasn't ready for review. It gave me another map. Okay, 6 days ago. So in my mind, I'm not gonna worry about it, and I'm feeling lucky if we had to go to the ZBA that the interpretation of that on part of their attorney would be when we have a complete application. And we still don't have a complete application for an LLI because you're missing any of the environmental constraints that may be on this property.
Oh,
When was the CEO determination?
Stacey, do you have that?
Recently, it was a,
One second,
it was about a month ago, I forget exactly.
March 3rd.
yeah,
Okay, March 3rd.
But
Well, I'm not sure which timeline or clock you're talking about, but.
Talking about the lot line clock, 62 days or 60 days?
62.
If
62.
the board is considering an appeal to the ZBA of the CEO determination, the board has 60 days to do that from the CEO determination.
well, our understanding from this VA meeting was that it's when the completed application is received to the planning board, not on the.
We're doing something totally different.
Okay,
We're talking about this, we were considering the possibility of, if we disagree that this is a lot line, we gotta appeal that to the ZBA.
Mhm.
There's a time frame on that, there's a statute. of
understood,
limitations.
60 days.
60 days from the CEO determination, which somebody said was March 3rd.
Yeah,
So
can
from
I,
that out, you're looking at something along the lines of May 1st.
Well,
we
Mr.
did discuss during the ZBA meeting that the CEO determination and the zoning application is sent back to the applicant for them to apply in Unicolab. And there's no viewing of their application by any board members prior to being marked ready for review by the building department.
I'm talking about the appeal.
I'm just saying they're not seeing it until it's marked ready for review, the planning board.
Okay.
I don't know.
I think, why don't we do this? I hear your advice to us. I'll take it into advisement. If we can't resolve this, then we'll decide what we're gonna do at that point. But we need to give you some time to go back and do
Great.
the map, redo the map. To induce this board to perhaps let it go as a lot line.
And I just want to say, reiterate that I really want to see that restriction, that map restriction. That we see here, which is to the fact that the improvement parcel will never be considered a separate building lot apart from the tractor which is being had. I think that's really important, especially in this case.
All right, so
But we ended up with one parcel, two parcels.
okay, I think we have an approach here, Saran.
Yeah, I think that, what I would like to see is the notes honored from the previous subdivision.
Okay.
They're everything on there. I don't see any reason why it should not all be carried over. The right to farm rattlesnakes, no build area, no further subdivision. I think all that stuff in order to honor the previous subdivision for this lot line should be included on the map. And then I'd also, because you're potentially talking about access off of Heaven's Way, do you have, we are gonna need probably the road maintenance agreement, right? I don't, is it, we know, you said that you have.
No, you know what, Peter, I think I did check that, Bill, this, you'll have to check this. I did research the easements off that road, and the gentleman has the right to build a house with a driveway out onto that road,
Okay.
out onto Heavens.
Okay,
But Bill, you need to check that also. I looked at the deed, and it's pretty clear from my mind that you have the right to put a driveway there. Or the Heavens Way, but again, when we get a better application with all of this information on it, which isn't much different from what we would have done with the subdivision, but okay.
Yep, we'll put together a better map and I'll look at what the restrictions are and we'll come back to you guys as soon as we can.
Okay.
One more comment, Megan. Because it's in essence subdivision, should we require water supply and sewer system on the map?
Now, if we agree to do this with a lot line, that we never make that as part of the lot line. If it was a subdivision, and our attorney is correct, he usually is,
Precedent.
we have to take what the CEO gave us. However, he hasn't weighed in on this. I believe we have the ability, even in a lot line, to honor previous notes on a portion of a lot that was
You have to,
previously
right?
subdivided,
This
and
could-
as well as add whatever else we might know about that property of an environmental concern. So I think we might have a way of saving us all a lot more heartache and headache. All right,
Very good.
Bill. You do need to check that easement I have, it's on Unicolab, I think it was loaded onto Unicolab. But it talks specifically about the right, to build the driveway there with access to Heaven's Way. All right, we good?
Okay, we're good. Thank you very much.
Okay.
you.
Thanks. Peter, thank you. All right, so. The people here for the public hearing? All right, I'm gonna, actually, I'm gonna delay. I'm gonna go with dignified dwellings and then we'll come back to you for the public hearing, all right? So, thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
Bill, do you have any questions?
We're all done with Lewis, right?
Yes.
One question about Lewis, was a bill, there was a letter, was made a letter indicating, asking about the Carvel. Carvel, that on a map, I guess.
Oh, you're talking about Lewis?
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Already there?
Dave, thank you, by the way, for. Okay, Bill, if you have any questions, you know where to find me.
Yeah.
As to what I believe the board is gonna need in order to get this thing rolling.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, so Nadine and Jeremy and
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm a little slow on the uptick. Thank you. You need to be where name tags. So let me tell you where I think the project is, and then you will let me know what I might have missed. We didn't close the public hearing yet. We did receive the RMA, and Dave Gordon will have it by tomorrow to take a look at. You sent me the RMA, I think I got it Friday.
Yes, I did.
The RMA?
Yeah. it was
Yeah, I did,
submitted.
I did, so, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I was just looking for confirmation. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. You need to get me the HOA for Dave Gordon to take a look at, so I need that.
I actually didn't realize that that was gonna be something I needed to send, but
Yeah, we talked about that last time, and in my email, Nadine, to you after the last meeting of 3 weeks ago, I indicated that we would need to look at the HOA also. And then also we wanted to look at the bond, and we did get the bond information, right? The site plan information.
Yeah, the engineer's estimate was submitted on the
What-
11th, and it was circulated to CPCAP.
Okay, when did we get that information on the site plan? information?
March 11th, with their submittal, and I sent it to Greg today.
Okay, all right. So it's with Greg. Went out to Greg Holden for him
He
to take a
said he
look at
can
it.
review it by the 13th.
He's on vacation. He'll be back on Monday. He said he'll have it reviewed by our next meeting. To give input to the board. So what I'm looking at. Is to leave the public hearing open until the 13th, at which time we can more than likely close it. At the 13th, we should have hopefully an HOA. We'll take a look at the bond. I'm sure it's okay. I looked at it. It looks really complete. And we should be able to move to a decision, not on the 13th, but on the 27th of April. And in that decision, things like if some things haven't been completed in terms of the review of the HOA, we can make those as conditions for the signing of the map. I still need to go to the town board, but that can happen after the decision. I need to go to the town board before I sign the maps and get the approval of the RMA and approval of the site specific.
Right. we definitely
items.
check.
So
Yeah.
all of that can be conditions of the approval that we do.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I looked very confused because we thought we were coming back to the 13th. It was our understanding that tonight, that you will put us back on the agenda tonight for the secret determination. So, that's why Jeremy's paying Peak to be here, paying the attorney to be here, but now we're not doing anything tonight.
Can I ask about that? Because, we did talk about the HOA. We talked about the RMA, and I actually thought I was early on the RMA because we also talked about these being conditions of the approval. I could certainly get you something, in advance of making the final decision for Dave to review. I don't see these legal instruments as being relevant to you making your secret determination. Because you reviewed part two, as you did for the prior
You're right,
application.
you're right.
You went through the criteria. It's, you proposed what it was gonna be. And I'm not sure why we need to delay that, at least that aspect of it, for those documents. So we're here to respectfully ask that you do that tonight, because that's why we came.
All right, so
We weren't expecting a final decision tonight. We knew that.
okay, well, that's good, because there isn't one.
No, I know, but we expected an action on secret, to be
Okay.
honest.
So
That was what was
I
discussed.
think we've covered everything. Not I think,
Yeah.
I know we've covered everything.
I just have one not random question, but there was a public comment letter that was sent in. That stated the developer put in road before the building permit was approved. The road is now blocking the old lumber road that should there be an emergency situation, making Roseville Road inaccessible would be the only way for residents off Franklin Road to leave the area. And I didn't remember seeing anything like that, or it's
Not
your
correct.
property, so, but I
Right.
just.
So, on the survey that was done, the existing conditions, any of the old woods roads
Yes.
are on there. We've all walked the site.
Yeah.
None of these were roads, they're definitely not passable by, residential vehicles. The only right of way over this property for any of the adjoining properties is, down by Franklin Road. There's a 50-foot right of way that crosses over this property. So that would be the very southerly portion of the property along the road. And there is no part of this development that blocks that right of way.
Okay. I couldn't, I just,
Yep,
I
no,
saw it and I wanted to ask.
No.
Okay, that was all I had.
Okay, well, why don't we go, I do have the material for the,
Okay,
for the part two, the big part two. So we can do the part two, and assuming that the board agrees that there is everything is a no to small impact, we can move forward. And then also after that, close the public hearing. All right,
and we would say if for some reason. Everything else isn't in order for the 13th. That we just assume come on the 27th, that way we're not back here on the 13th and the 27th. So we can talk about that after we go. through
yeah, we
secret.
could do that as well. We can
That's okay.
prepare the,
Okay.
we can prepare the decision for the 27th. Those items you mentioned, you're right, we've done that in the past, we can make it my signing the map contingent on getting all this other information to us. And also the town board approval on those items that have to be approved. But we can do the decision, you just don't get the signed map until everything is finished,
okay.
okay? Would follow that, because I'm not sure that I do.
Well, yeah, I think he's saying something different than what he said. He was just saying, we would make, do it, declaration of significance first, but he wasn't saying the way he was gonna put in the RMA and the HOA perhaps before the declaration, before the decision. So you just made it out afterwards, was saying.
All right, so you all, the board is familiar with this form. It's the part two.
Yeah, I should have.
Here's one for you.
Well, yeah, part two.
Thanks.
The reason we're doing the full environmental assessment form part two is because this required an FEAF, it wasn't an SEAF. I'm not gonna read each of the items, but I'm gonna pause on each of the numbers. We have to go through 1 through 18. And I'm gonna pause for each one to allow you to read, or you know what? Let's go through each item. That signs, us missing something. So the first one is impact on the land. Proposed action, and remember, no or small impact. Or rather moderate would indicate that we have to do something additional. So, the proposed action may involve construction on land where depth to water table is less than 3 feet. I suggest no or small impact. Proposed action may involve construction on slopes of 15% or greater. There are slopes in excess of this, but they have satisfied us as to the location of where the houses are going, and also the roadway in terms of what they're doing to meet this requirement.
But I think we would say yes, and then it would be yes and,
Mitigation.
right?
Yeah.
So you would say yes,
In the part 3 that would be admitted.
you wanna identify that it is relevant to the project.
Yeah.
But then as part of our work here, we've mitigated the issue.
Okay,
Model.
so that's a moderate to large.
Yeah.
Okay. The proposed action may involve construction on land where bedrock is exposed or generally within 5 feet of existing ground surface. I think that's probably moderate also. D, the proposed action may involve the excavation and removal of more than 1,000 tons of natural material. No. Or small impact. The proposed action may involve construction that continues for more than 1 year or in multiple phases. I'm assuming no. Is that a no?
That yes or no?
It's not gonna extend for more than 1 year?
Part one out from the answer. I assume he doesn't. I mean, houses will be built in, not all 1 year, so. Yeah, I got that part one. So we said not multiple phases, but 24 months, so it's more than 1 year.
Okay, so that's moderate to large impact. Proposed action may result in increased erosion, whether from physical disturbance or vegetation removal. I'm gonna put moderate. And there are mitigation methods that you're gonna employ. Proposed action is or may be located within a coastal erosion hazard zone. No, a small. So this is a yes, number 1. Number 2, impact on geologic features. A, identify the landforms. I'm gonna say no to all of these. Is everybody in agreement with that?
Yeah.
All right, so this is a no. Impact on surface water. Proposed action may create a new water body. No. Proposed action may result in increase or decrease of over 10% or more than a 10-acre increase or decrease in the surface area of any body of water. No. Proposed action may involve dredging. No. Proposed action may involve construction within or adjourning of freshwater or tidal wetland. It's adjourning. But it's quite a distance from it.
Well, the original plan was to build down lower, so you would say yes, and then the mitigation is that we need to build on the top, so,
So should this be a yes?
yeah.
Isn't this on the current plan?
I think this is the current plan, so with that change, you can say. No, I mean, I think it's small, I'm not putting words in your mouth, but I don't. I
I
don't
think
it's-
either which way we would have a
We would
mitigation.
look completely away from it, you can look at the current plan and include.
I think if we say yes, then we can acknowledge the public comments and our concerns.
Okay.
That's acknowledging that the project did
I would agree with
change
you.
as a result of its proximity to wetlands.
Okay, let's do a yes. Proposed action may create turbidity in a water body, either from upland erosion, runoff, or by disturbing bottom sediments. No. Proposed action may include construction of one or more intakes for withdrawal of water from surface water. No. Proposed action may include construction of one or more outfalls for discharge of wastewater to surface waters. No. Proposed action may cause soil erosion or otherwise create a source of stormwater discharge that may lead to situation or other degradation of receiving water bodies.
I think you could say maybe yes on that because there are steep slopes and we have a lot of erosion and sediment control as part of it and with the road, but I don't know what you guys think.
Anybody else have a?
I think it's a risk.
Yeah, I would agree.
I think it's a one that we can add condition to.
I would agree with them.
Okay, so that's a yes. Proposed action may affect the water quality of any water bodies within or downstream of the site of the proposed action. If the mitigation is done, it won't, so we say yes, but there's mitigation. Proposed action may involve the application of pesticides.
I'm just keeping track. What are you saying on that? You're saying moderate to large?
Which,
Yes.
what are you asking me?
Yeah.
Aye.
It's moderate to large. On J, it's no. Or small. On K, proposed action may require the construction of new or expansion of existing wastewater treatment facilities, no. So impact on surface water is a yes. And other impacts on the next page is a no. Impact on groundwater. Proposed action may require new water supply wells or create additional demand on supplies from existing water supply wells. No? Water supply demand from the proposed action may exceed safe and sustainable withdrawal. No. Proposed action may allow or result in residential uses in areas without water and sewer services.
Not a large impact.
I would say no or small. Proposed action may include or require wastewater discharge to groundwater. No, small impact. Proposed action may result in the construction of water supply wells in locations where groundwater is or suspected to be contaminated. No. Proposed action may require the bulk storage of oleum, distillate, or chemical products. No. Proposed action may involve the commercial application of pesticides. No. Other impacts, none identified, so no or small. So this was no.
Well, the first one is proposed may require new water supply wells, right? I mean,
But it's
Well-
only three, is that a large impact?
small.
Yeah, there are three, but I think that's
Okay.
small.
Residential.
Yeah.
Impact on flooding. Proposed action may result in development of in a designated floodway, no. Proposed action may result in development within a 100-year floodplain, no. 500-year floodplain, no. Proposed action may result in or require modification of existing drainage patterns. Jen, I'm gonna turn to you as the water expert.
There, how long is the road? How much area, what's the area of disturbance of this? Is it, it's not more than 1 acre, right?
It's more than one, but less than five. That's why there is a soil erosion control plan.
Yeah, so you could say. Yes, and then modified it with the SWIP and stormwater controls.
So that's a moderate to large. The proposed action may change floodwater flows that contribute to flooding. No to small. If there is a dam, no or small. Next page. Other impacts, no. Impacts on air. The proposed action may include a state regulated air emission source. So A. I would say no to all of these. B, the proposed action may generate 10 tons a year or more of any designated hazardous air pollutant, no. C, the proposed action may require a state air registration, no. Proposed action may reach 50% of any of the thresholds A through C, no. Proposed action may result in the combustion of thermal treatment, no. Of more than a ton of refuse, and F, other impacts, no. So this is a no. Number 7, impacts on plants and animals. Proposed action may cause reduction in population or loss of individuals of any threatened or endangered species as listed by the New York State or federal government. This is a moderate because of the Appalachian shoestring fern that was identified. It's on the endangered list, New York State. So we should check that as moderate or large. And just seek information as to where that fern was actually located. I believe it was
Was it
located by
in this?
both their wetlands person, but certainly our wetlands person. And it was down in the Vly area where there are no longer houses being built. Okay. But it,
So could that be the mitigation that we're not building?
yeah, so I think
Yeah.
it's a yes, and then when we do the part 3, we identify the mitigations. And a lot of these are being mitigated, Dan, by the fact that you're moving 2 houses that were down in the Vly area. You're moving it, you're getting rid of one and you're moving the other one up onto the plateau, which is away from the Vly.
Right,
And you expanded the buffer area further uphill.
right.
That's
Okay.
right. They extended that 100 feet. B, the proposed action may result in reduction or degradation of any habitat used by any rare, threatened, or endangered, that's also a moderate. The proposed action may cause reduction in population or loss of individuals of any species of special concern or conservation need. I think that's a moderate to large also. The proposed action may result in a reduction or degradation of any habitat. And I think that's a yes. The next page, E,
You need
proposed.
moderate, need it's moderate or you're at large. You
Moderate.
don't answer these yes or no.
You're right.
Answer the big question, yes.
Yes or no. Thank you, Dave. Moderate or large.
So they're trying to-
The proposed action may diminish the capacity of a registered national natural landmark,
There aren't any.
no or small. Proposed action may result in the removal of or ground disturbance in any portion of a designated significant natural community, no. The proposed action may substantially interfere with nesting, breeding, foraging, or overwintering habitat for the predominant species that occupy, no. Proposed action requires the conversion of more than 10 acres of forest, grasslands. No. Proposed action, commercial, industrial, recreational projects only, so that's a no. And J, other impacts, no. Impacts, so this category is a yes.
Agriculture.
Number 8, impact on agricultural resources. Proposed action may impact soil classified. I would say no or small. Proposed action may sever, cross, or otherwise limit access to agricultural land. No or small. Proposed action may result in excavation or compaction of the soil profile of active agricultural land. No or small. Proposed action may irreversibly convert agricultural land. No or small. Proposed action may disrupt or prevent installation of an agricultural land management system. No or small. Proposed action may result directly or indirectly in increased development potential or pressure on farmland. No or small. The proposed project is not consistent with the adopted municipal farmland. No or small. Other impacts, no. So this one is a no. Impact on aesthetic resources. A, proposed action may be visible from any officially designated federal, state, or local scenic or aesthetic resource. No or small. Proposed action may result in the obstruction, elimination, or significant screening of one or more officially designated scenic views. No or small. Proposed action may be visible from publicly accessible vantage points. And there's 2 parts: seasonally, and the second part is year-round. No to both. Situation or activity in which viewers are engaged while viewing the proposed action is 2 parts: routine travel by residents, recreational or tourism-based activities. No on both of those. Proposed action may cause a diminishment of the public enjoyment and appreciation of the designated aesthetic resource. There was no designated aesthetic resource, so there's no diminishment. F, there are similar projects. The answer to that is no, and it gives different distances. Other impacts, no. So this one is number 9 is a no. Impact on historic and archaeological resources. I don't believe, Dave, correct me if I'm wrong, that we came up with any hits on that, so we're not gonna go through each one, that's a no.
Same again, same, but.
Number 11, impact on open space and recreation. Proposed action may result in an impairment of natural functions or ecosystem services provided by an undeveloped area, included but not limited to stormwater storage, nutrient cycling, and wildlife habitat. No or small?
I mean, it's next to the Y, so you could say yes and then talk about how the house was removed of.
Is 47 acres? Is that 47?
It's 40 acres.
3 houses?
But what I mean is that, the ecosystem services piece, so you could say that, you could mark this as yes for moderate or whatever, and then say that, you know, the number of homes was reduced, one of them was moved up, and there's no impact. Recognizing the project change.
Recognize it and then, okay. So moderate to large,
And the conservation areas that.
Yeah, and then
that would be the mitigation.
and that'll come up in a bunch of different categories, I think.
Okay. Thank you.
And I think most of the answers to these.
Yeah.
To these yes answers are the mitigation.
Right.
You guys are-
So Peter, you're proposing that B through E are all moderates, or we should go through those?
No, I think we should go through it. I'm
Okay.
just saying, just a general.
Yep. The proposed action may result in the loss of a current or future recreational resource, no. Proposed action may eliminate open space or recreational resources in an area with very few such resources, no. Proposed action may result in loss of an area now used informally by the community as an open space resource, no or small. Other impacts, no. So this is a yes. Impact on a CEA. Let's go through this, well.
There are.
There is an
So that's a no.
Not yet.
That's it. Impact on transportation. I think we can all agree this is no. Impact on energy. I think we can also agree that this is a no.
Great.
Impact on noise, odor and light. Let's go through this. Because we did have letters from neighbors about the light. And that would be mitigated by dark sky and adherence to dark sky. Proposed action may produce sound above noise levels established, no. Proposed action may result in blasting, no. Proposed action may result in routine odors, no. Proposed action may result in light shining onto adjoining properties, moderate to large.
No. We would have to have lights like right on the property line. If the homes all meet the zoning setbacks, so all further from the property line in the zoning setbacks, and with dark sky. So there's no impact on
So
lighting.
you did agree that everything would be dark skies, including what's allowed in the houses.
Yeah, it's the standard note from the Rochester's on the plan, and it's really not a mitigation, it's a requirement. And again, this isn't, there's no street lighting, this is household lighting,
Okay.
so.
So that's something, Dan, to note, that would have to be in the HOA agreement. The people can't come in and change the lights, increasing the amount of light dispersion. So the applicant puts up a house and it's all dark sky, and then somebody else decides, you know, I'm gonna take a couple of floodlights and shine them all over my property for whatever reason. So it has to be in the HOA agreement that that's not permitted.
Okay.
All right, so
Just to-
that,
Yeah, just a question. You're not anticipating having to blast, correct?
No blasting.
Okay.
These code violation anyway, right?
I don't, well, they need permits for it. For blasting?
No.
No, it's the lighting.
Oh, yeah, it would be. But we want it in the HOA, so you're correct that it's gonna be in the HOA. Okay, so number D is no or small. E, the proposed action may result in lighting, creating sky glow brighter than existing area conditions. No or small. With that caveat that provision is in the HOA agreement.
I'm sorry, which one is that?
It has to do with dark skies. Has to
Right,
be
it's gonna
HO,
be the HO.
no lighting, outside lighting, anything other than what is dark sky compliant. That has to be the HO.
Notes that are on the plan that. All these notes, as far as the conservation restrictions and these notes will be in there, so under lighting. There shall be no lighting installed along the roadway, all exterior lighting should be downward facing and dark sky compliant. So those are on the plan, will be in.
Okay, so this category number 15 would be no. 16, impact on human health. A, the proposed action is located within 1,500 feet of a school, hospital, no. The site of the proposed action is currently undergoing remediation, no. There is a complete emergency spill remediation, no. The site of the action is subject to institutional control limiting the use of the property, no. Proposed action may affect institutional, no. Control measures. The proposed action has adequate control measures in place to ensure that future generation treatment and or disposal of hazardous waste, no. Proposed action involves construction or modification of a solid waste management facility, no. Proposed action may result in the unearthing of solid or hazardous waste, no. Proposed action may result in an increase in the rate of disposal or processing of solid waste, no. Proposed action may result in excavation or other disturbances within 2,000 feet of a site used for the disposal of solid or hazardous waste, no. Proposed action may result in the migration of explosive gases from a landfill, no. Proposed action may result in the release of contaminated leachate, no. Other impacts, no. Everybody okay with this? No. And number 17. Consistency with community plans. The proposed actions land use components may be different from or in sharp contrast to surrounding land use patterns. No or small. Proposed action will cause the permanent population of the city, town or village in which the project is located grow by more than 5%. No. Proposed action is inconsistent with local land use plans or zoning. No. Proposed action is inconsistent with any county plans. No. Proposed action may cause a change in the density of development that is not supported by existing infrastructure. No. Proposed action is located in an area characterized by low density development that will require new or expanded public infrastructure. No. The proposed action may induce secondary development impacts. That is residential or commercial development not included in the proposed action, no or small. So would everybody agree that this is a no? Consistency with community character. 18 and last. The proposed action may replace or eliminate existing facility structures or areas of historic importance, no. Proposed action may create a demand for additional community services, no. Proposed action may displace affordable but low-income housing, no. Proposed action may interfere with the use or enjoyment of officially recognized or designated public resources, no. Proposed action is inconsistent with the predominant architectural scale and character of the area, no. Proposed action is inconsistent with the character of the existing natural landscape, no. Everybody agree that this is a no?
Agreed.
Okay, so $64 question. Dave. We have
Got 3 of them here.
bunch of yeses, thank you.
Oh,
Um,
3 days.
oh, you're talking about 3 days, I thought you were talking about, no, I was gonna say there's more than. So we have some yeses,
3 days.
you, Dave,
Yeah.
we have some yeses here. My belief is that they've been mitigated. That would be in the part 3. We don't have a part 3 tonight for the board to take a look at. We have an open public hearing. We've done the first walkthrough of the determination of significance. Our next step is
You gotta get part 3 and then you could do.
the
The
determination.
negative declaration if you're so inclined,
Okay,
based on that documentation.
all right, so that is gonna take you to put together the part 3.
Yeah, I'll have to, write it up as a draft.
Okay, for the next meeting. Is that doable?
Well, if that's when you want it, then we'll go for it.
Okay. So we need the part three. We all know that, or we all believe that these things have been mitigated. But we need,
Or avoided by them.
or for you. Okay. But we need to develop the part three, which we don't have for tonight. So this will have to slip until the next meeting. And Dave will need to prepare the part three
And you'll need a resolution.
and the resolution. Right. Are you hiding your head? Will you be able to do the resolution by the next meeting?
Resolution of approval or resolution of neg deck?
Neg deck.
Yeah.
Okay. Dan, you had a question?
Yeah, I was just, this is an unlisted action, so I realized that a full EAF was submitted. I mean, technically it was not required, but we did one anyway, and you went through it exhaustively. I mean, can we just have an understanding of what, the part, you couldn't verbalize a part three tonight, or you need to work on that? To memorial and then have it memorialized for the next meeting so that we know what it's gonna say. You can also, it's an unlisted action, it's not a type 1, so you can do a conditional negative declaration here if you wanted to do that, but I mean, if we just wanna leave tonight with an understanding that, this is what the part one is gonna say. And I think what we're hearing tonight is that everything that's been identified as potentially moderate to large, not yes, has been mitigated or avoided by redesigning the project and moving it away from the environmentally sensitive areas. We did all that. And the conservation easements, which we've offered, which, a 3-lot subdivision with all of those, concessions made. I just don't see why this should be such a big to do.
Well, I understand what you're
I mean, is there any way this could be done tonight?
So I understand what you're saying.
Right,
There's nobody, I think this board has been at this along with the applicant and
Right. Okay.
2.5 years.
right,
And it took us a while to finally have a breakthrough a few months ago when you agreed to eliminate one lot and move the other lot up top away from the line.
okay,
So that was great. And we have to follow what the various rules and regulations say, particularly around seeker. Because that's fairly easy. It would be fairly easy for somebody to challenge our decision on seeker. If we were to, what I'm hearing, not skip a step, but not complete a step, so skip a step, the appropriate way of doing a step. And that being found to be erroneous just by virtue of the process not being followed. Having said that, I don't have JD after my name, so you do. What's your reaction to what Mr. O'Leary is proposing?
Honestly, I'm not sure what your idea is, but before we discuss it in more detail, if we should. Rick, can you just confirm for me how many of the overall categories were checked? Yes? Okay, so Dan, you got 5 out of 10 categories checked yes. Sorry, 5 out of 18 checked yes. So this is not a trivial thing. The board has done a fair amount of work, the applicant has done a fair amount of work. So, and the basic seeker procedure is to go through, but I go back a number of decades with seeker. I've been doing seeker type of work in the environment for 35 years. I am not tied to the particular forms. I think there's sometimes too much fealty to the forms, but that is what we're doing. We're going along to the procedure. I don't know of anything other than writing up a part 3 in response to part 2. So if you can explain it to me. Also, to the extent you suggested a C and D, that has even more. We're actually considering that for another project. that has more formal procedures. That would require essentially drafting a C and D and then putting it up for public comment period / public hearing. That, so I'm not sure where you're going with that, but the bottom line is if we've got a part two on a project that was somewhat of concern and now we've had a number of discussions with it, of progress with it. We need to write up essentially what the result of that is. That seems like a normal and standard thing to do, and it's also consistent with DEC procedures, so I don't frankly understand.
No,
the idea.
look, I agree with what you're saying. I mean, it should be written out. What I was saying was I would want clarity when I leave tonight. What, some sense of what that's gonna
You
say.
heard the I mean, you've heard the oral discussion. At some point, there will be a written document that we will then have, I mean, this is gonna be a form, the neg deck here, if it is a neg deck, is a formal determination of the board, you're
Right.
fully aware of that.
Right,
The process here is to do a part three, take a good hard look at it, literally, write
right,
it up, so that will be able, that way the applicant, the public, everybody will know what happened with this project that brought it to the period, the point where we can do that. I don't know what the shortcut is, but I'm fairly confident the CMD wouldn't get us there, and we're under basically an injunction to write up part three, because we have 5 questions, with a bunch of sub-questions that are subjects that we have to deal with.
Could I ask the board something before Dan answers that? Does the board agree that the 5 items have been mitigated?
Or avoided.
Or avoided?
I think they've largely been avoided and mitigation, but I'd like to see, you know, the certain things like the erosion control. And the conservation considerations. You know,
In writing,
Yeah.
maybe nice.
I would also point out to the applicant that the writing of the evaluation of the environmental issues and mitigation will and could inform the statement of conditions that would be necessary on the ultimate approval. I mean, you know, we say this is being this is not a significant evidence of environmental effect because of X, Y, and Z. That becomes essentially X, Y, and Z become candidates for conditions of approval.
right. Okay, so when can we expect part 3?
By next meeting, by the 13th.
Well,
Today is what?
we have to do at least a week before that, right? For the board.
27.
It's up to the board.
I'd like it a week ahead of time for the board and anybody from the public, yeah. Do you believe that's doable, Dan?
Where
me
we
just-
at?
Let me just list the things that I'm aware of that.
It sounds straightforward.
You've got the Lewis decision for the 13th.
Who's the board member repping this project? The lead,
Me,
you.
do you need help with it, Dave?
I just needed a reviewer. Before we share it.
The part 3, I'll review it.
there you go. Jen is, and a lot of what we talked about is erosion control and water related. And Jen, that's your,
The 13th.
so why don't we make that?
I don't think it'll take me that long to look over it. I think it's pretty straightforward. It's just capturing everything and putting it all together.
Yeah, it sounds straightforward. Depends on how much more happens to it.
Okay,
I just want to.
so Dan,
That.
It's a simple document.
Our original EAF was submitted December 2023, but with the revised plan. We updated and revised the EAF on December 2025. So it was revised at that point for the 3 lots, and so, you know. If you need you don't have that current version or something, just let me know.
so
You mean the part 1? Maybe.
Part
part
1,
1,
correct.
And that was loaded up to Muni Club.
yes.
Believe so, yes.
Yeah. So, all right, so to answer your question,
Everybody, the volunteers, I don't know what Easter does for people with school children, et cetera. Is everybody around?
I have no kids, so I'm around.
Well, I'm speaking for only myself. I'm asking a question about the
So-
volunteers.
So I'll be out of town returning next Monday,
Okay,
so I can look at it Tuesday.
okay.
So.
I'll
Mhm.
distribute something by Tuesday.
Okay.
2 Tuesdays,
That's fair enough.
a week from tomorrow.
All right, so our plan is to get it onto the meeting of the 13th.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. And I asked the question of the board. That, does anybody see anything here at face value that hasn't been mitigated? I don't, and if you recall, I was the one pushing and pushing. But there's 6 other people on the board and they need to be satisfied that everything's been mitigated. Because they were very, very involved in getting this thing to the state that it is.
I
And
think mitigated, but as Dave said, conditioned, it's
so the part 3 for the 13th, and then for the 27th, we would have the decision. We would hopefully have a decision.
All right, great, thank you. very
Okay,
much.
thank you.
All right.
I just had one other question. As you did with the RMA, if you have a sample of an HOA that you previously approved, just not that it's gonna be a ditto of what we're doing, but just as some feel for the language that you've accepted before.
Yeah,
If you have that, I know at least one of the samples that you sent to me for the RMA was an HOA as well.
I think the chair signaled that that was not gonna be an input into the declaration of significance. So.
Correct.
No,
Just
but
for
no,
the-
what I'm saying is
Conditional
for
approval.
the condition, are you still okay with, like, I don't wanna come to a meeting and say, I didn't get you the HOA, I think it can be a condition of approval. Are we in all agreement?
okay, so hang on. Yeah, I'm okay that the review of the RMA that Dave will start tomorrow.
Right,
The review of the HOA, and we don't have it yet,
right,
and the business with the site plan. Bonding document, all of the delivering that to the board. As long as the board, we've agreed to it before, can be a condition of approval. And at that point. I'll honcho it with Dave and Dave to
Okay.
make sure it's appropriate. I'll get it before the town board. And then alert the board, this board, that everything's appropriate and I'm gonna be signing the map as a result of everything being approved.
But just to be clear.
Does that answer your question?
Okay, okay, if you're good, then that's fine, but what the chair was saying was that essentially the declaration of significance would come under consideration, I think it was on the 13th.
right,
And the ultimate subdivision approval would be considered, I guess, at the end of the month, 2 weeks later.
right.
So, what you're talking about is actually more, the condition of approval, quote unquote, is not related to the seeker determination, it's more related to. the end of the month.
I totally get that, I understand.
Okay. no,
I was just
Thank you.
talking because these issues were identified and raised at the beginning of this meeting. That you still don't have these things, so I needed clarity as to, them. And I was the one who said, I don't think you need them for the negative declaration.
And
So
we're
I agree,
agreeing-
I agree with
we're-
you, right, okay. Okay, thank you. We're good, thank you,
If you need any of the reassurances, you don't have my number.
okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Just, and we're gonna, Verizon is, thank you. We're gonna get to Verizon in a second, we'll take a break also, but.
I forgot to get escrow for
Hemlock.
Hemlock.
Okay,
I can email Bill and Lowell, but if you
Email
guys
him.
can do the motion, so let me have that part in the meeting.
so let me come back to that before I lose my other train of
Okay.
thought, come back to it. So tonight, I was kind of anticipating that we might be here with a lot more work to do, paperwork, important paperwork for seeker. So we talked periodically about doing the seeker process, what we just did tonight, a lot earlier in the application process. And I don't know what that means other than we're at the tail end. Maybe I should have pushed this up a couple of months to get it done. We did it in the sense, informally, in the sense that we identified all the environmental problems and we were asking for mitigation. If we did it under seeker, under the part 2, we'd have the force of the part 2 to say, these are the things that need to be mitigated. How are you going to mitigate it? We sort of did it because that's the way we've always been doing things. We've got a whole bunch of stuff, we'll mitigate it, and yeah, we'll be fine. But I think we saw tonight that had we not done all of that, we would have been kind of stuck, or we could have moved it along much more quickly in the sense, our process of insisting that things be done differently on this project we could have gotten there maybe a year ago to force the kind of mitigation that we finally got. So I don't know what anybody thinks of
I
that.
don't
It's
think we
something to
knew it a
discuss.
year ago. I don't think we knew it. There were many changes.
Yeah, there's a resistance even you got.
The entire downside of, what they're concerned about is basically 2 weeks. In other words, they wanted us to consider the declaration of significance tonight. Instead, we went through the part 2 and we really need to get to part 3, which we'll consider in 2 weeks. It's in the scheme of things. What you're suggesting is to, instead of just jumping in and using our judgment to craft what the mitigation should be in the environmental analyses, we go through the part 2 to do that.
Right.
With the advantage being not that we have a better product, but that rather we at least get the part 2 out of the way so that when we get done, we're prepared to jump to a part 3. I suppose in some ways it would give us 2 weeks more efficiency, but this is actually more deliberate, and that we put our judgment into this, and then at the end we go through the part 2.
Well, I think it's more than an issue of 2 weeks. It took us, Peter's right, it took us years to get to agreement to get rid of one of those
Many
lots.
changes, big changes.
I mean, but
We could have accomplished that by doing the secret part too.
Okay, I think the board is aware of the issues in general as but maybe not. If you need the secret part 2 to prompt you as to what the issues of concern might be overall, then yeah, then.
Well, not only us, we knew where they were, but to convince the applicant that this wasn't going anywhere until they answered those things.
As I said before, if the applicant isn't convinced that, for example, that it's gonna cause problems because there's a runoff issue or a wetlands issue or something issue, just by verbally, then if you think that the existence of it in the part 2 is more convincing, then you're right. But I think at this point, most sophisticated practitioners know that if the board is expressing an environmental problem for which there's not an immediate solution, like for instance, because there's, houses down in the wetland. Either way.
Well, we spent a year and a half arguing about that, so I hear you.
The part 2 will help go for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Peter, do you have?
Escrow, we didn't do it.
Oh, okay.
for Hemlock.
Peter, and Stacia reminded me, we didn't do additional escrow for Hemlock, which we might need given some of the complexity. So I'm gonna recommend that we ask for another $350. I think we got $150.
We don't have any yet.
Oh, we don't
The
have
New
that.
application.
That's right, it's a new application. So I'm gonna recommend, this is a new
Initial
application.
escrow.
I'm gonna recommend $500 in escrow. I need a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Peter, second. Dave Roberts, all in favor?
All right, and we can notify Bill and.
I'll email Bill and
Okay.
we'll.
Thank you. Okay, let's take a break. And Verizon, we'll get into the public hearing for Verizon in 10 minutes. I hear you. Let's be good about having the process.
You have the forces, I don't need a part 2 for that.
Sometimes.
You look at somebody and say, I'm worried about the wetland, or I'm worried about this.
We have the. And we say, this ain't that you take the school as far as that, you would have done most of them.
But you know what? Because my DNA is to not worry about, my DNA is to get another part of whatever it is on secret, and in forms are not superfluous, but just of second note. But
Send us
you really think that Nadine, Dan, and their principal are gonna be more moved by saying, it says, what, here, it says, one over here, there's something like that. What's up?
I don't know where you sign it. You just said you had to sign it.
I know,
I don't know. I have to look at an old one. So maybe I should do it.
think about it.
Yeah, it is. Talking to you.
I print my name here,
Mhm.
planning board, blah, 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 date.
Really won't be. Sounds informative.
I know. Yeah, I'll sign this. I signed in 2 places, so it couldn't be wrong. And it's
Just wanted to check with you. That's right.
No. Oh, it's like you're giving it right to speak.
Hey,
No, I don't.
wait, what do I do here? I just heard your name right planning over here.
Put the planning board's name.
Maybe because.
That's pretty much-
Let's see you.
Put my name.
Yeah.
Okay, and then Dave.
Oh, but he liked it, he does it, he got a little section. Let's say you're right. It's all right, and you're right, so it's up.
He was, and I heard all along is it's actually costs. We do have to subdivision.
Yes.
He thought he's something for a lot line improvement. It would in a meeting. For a simple man, for the simple math, it's already said. I'm assuming he's got buyers. It's a funny thing. Yeah, well, you know what my opinion is. I think it's a re-subdivision. I think every job.
Yeah.
I think it's clearly a re-subdivision. Because he wants to change. Maybe so.
I just figured if I had even the seat time, they could go right.
It's pretty your policy. I don't, look, I think it's in effect the lot line, he's moving a lot. Just moving one line. But this. Well, at this point, as Dave said, they'll make a difference, code enforcement office, two in a row.
Yeah.
Then it's a lot line thing.
I know.
So if you disagree.
Right, yeah, but
But it is what it is.
But that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't even like this section. I find this section of in codes. I find section in codes confusing, but where are we? I gotta find the right.
Oh, yeah. Dissatisfaction. Oh, no, that's actually.
Because I heard a lot of, have to go to, the source department anyway.
It seems to me like, Rick and Peter has issues. They're suspicious of this.
But let's do it.
So they wanted him to go through a full subdivision.
Yeah.
Well, that's the original position.
Okay, right. He's not pushing back, he's septic line, water.
From a practical matter, it's much to do about option. If you're suspicious about what he's about to do, yeah, it's just. And I'm assuming he just wants to sell the lot. He's looking to sell this. Live on it himself. I've never met the guy. I haven't met him.
He's gonna sell.
Yeah, he's got fire for you.
Perhaps, yeah. Yes.
Or he's just felt that, better off just with I don't really, I'm with you completely. I don't understand why you just decided, didn't decide weeks ago. I'll just file for a subdivision.
Yeah.
And stop. And he does it.
Yeah, and okay.
They would have, he would have required all those notes in that.
Right.
He would have been out, I don't know, maybe it would have cost him a couple $1,000s. I don't really understand what it's been. He seems to think it would have cost him a lot more. That's what he told us on outside.
And
This was zoning board meeting. I went with Rick. It's painful.
Yeah.
It was completely painful discussion. It was. Oh, it was just. It was an hour and a half. Procedural debate. And argument over when the date of the annual. Which triggers the 60 day. He's talking about.
It's not.
We're just jawboning about why he did.
Why?
Do it. Why did he just accept the fact? Why for something? He would have done it.
And on the side, maybe they'll get it.
Maybe.
We're gonna see.
Well, I'll tell you what, I don't even know why.
He said because it would cost him more money. That's what he told us that side.
I'll tell you what, even if for a while, I don't believe, now that I'm understanding this, that huge concerns and the other environmental concerns is basically the intention of not just the environment, but also what's on the actual previous subdivision plan. We don't have the authority to do a lot of envision that doesn't carry this.
But that's all like in range.
It's no,
Of course we would have done.
we had to do.
Yeah.
So why are we hung up on what to call it?
For a lot of subdivision that erases the restrictions. on-
Correct.
No, is that part, yeah.
Correct. I mean, if you want to carry them over, like, for emphasis, it makes sense. They still stay there, right? Because they were part of the previous.
Well, I think the concern is that when you show up the building inspector, it's not on the plan of the building inspector.
These are really history of that.
Doesn't know it's gonna look at places.
There was a history of that.
Yeah.
But they can put them off on you.
Yeah, no.
I agree. The new, I don't think stunts tied to reason.
Maybe not, but, well, so you have to go back, I mean, to the old subdivision plans.
Yeah, I don't.
Maybe you guys didn't want to challenge. They didn't want to spend time.
Maybe he's got, for all we know, he could have borrowed money and he's got a lien on the property. There's something behind sense.
Just a legal question, we have the authority to approval a lot revision that does not carry forward.
Okay, let's come back to what if,
Well, it's noted, you don't want it for me, because I think. But. I think everybody.
extra to
I defer to you judging on that.
tear it up and throw it away.
No, I'm gonna see this.
And I don't relish that,
The next
because I think this is a fairly minor thing.
Okay, so. Thank you, Jonathan. All right, so this is the, next item on the agenda is
Their coach or before days.
the public hearing for Verizon. And I don't think I need to give this group the rules of the road again. I'd like to keep the presentations to under 7 minutes, 5 or 7 minutes. If somebody has a little bit more than that, I'll certainly understand and allow it. But we also have, after the public hearing, the board will be discussing Verizon for quite some time. Just to wrap up the draft, part 3, and also the resolution, termination of significance. The public hearing will not be closed tonight. It'll continue, as I had said previously, to the 13th, the next meeting. And so we won't be doing the determination of significance tonight. We'll leave that for hopefully we can get that done on the 13th. And so let's get started. First on the list is Larry Friedman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to speak for a few minutes about Matt Allen's conflict of interest. You've seen in the letters that we've received over the last week from the public regarding that conflict of interest, that the public has absolutely no confidence in the notion that Mr. Allen is an independent expert, given his longstanding and extensive history of working with Verizon, both directly and indirectly, to help it win approval for cell tower applications throughout New York
Excuse me,
State.
Larry, you're gonna submit your writing,
I will.
to the board to, thank you.
Let me start over. You've seen in the letters you've received from the public over the past week regarding Matt Allen's conflict of interest, that the public has absolutely no confidence in the notion that Mr. Allen is an independent expert, given his longstanding and extensive history of working with Verizon, both directly and indirectly, to help it win approval for cell tower applications throughout New York State and Connecticut. As you know, we've established that Mr. Allen worked directly with Verizon between 2018 and 2021 to help it win approval for 2 cell tower applications in Bedford, New York. And we've also established that according to the CV Mr. Allen submitted in another matter, he has worked indirectly with Verizon to help it win approval for cell tower applications in New York State and Connecticut more than 70 times. Nonetheless, in your draft decision rejecting our request that Mr. Allen be disqualified and his opinions be disregarded, and for those who haven't seen it, that draft decision is set out in the resolution that you posted to Municalab for the first time yesterday, Sunday. In that draft decision, you contemplate that the board will conclude that the fact that Mr. Allen has worked for Verizon both directly and indirectly does not detract from his independence to work for this board in evaluating Verizon's application here, and does not create an undue risk of bias or an appearance of impropriety. Given the facts here, members of the board, that conclusion is not credible. Indeed, it is dead wrong, and I will tell you exactly why. If Mr. Allen's longstanding and extensive work with Verizon does not detract from his ability to serve as the independent expert for the board, why then, Mr. Chair, did you ask Mr. Allen, as you've told the public repeatedly, why did you ask him before hiring him whether he had ever done visual resource related consulting work with Verizon? The fact that you asked this question demonstrates the importance, generally and to you, that if Mr. Allen told you he had previously worked for Verizon, which we've now proven he has, that would create an undue risk that he would not be independent in advising the board. And at a minimum, his engagement by the board would create an appearance of impropriety. Otherwise, Mr. Chair, you would not have asked him that question. And the fact that you have told the public that you took comfort in the fact that Mr. Allen told you he had not previously worked for Verizon also underscores your appreciation of the importance of that fact if it were true. And it's turned out through our hard work going through as much information as we could dig out that it is true. So because you asked this question of Mr. Allen, because you reported his answer to the public, and because you took comfort in his answer that he had not worked with Verizon previously, now that we've shown that Mr. Allen misled you, and he does have a long history of working with Verizon, the board cannot credibly turn around now and say that his prior work for Verizon somehow is not important or does not detract from his ability to act as an independent expert. Otherwise, you would not have asked him about that and reported his answer to the board and the public as you did. The same is true from Mr. Allen's perspective. Why did he mislead you and tell you that he had not previously worked for Verizon when that is untrue? The fact that he misled you, that he had not done any prior work for Verizon, underscores that he recognized the importance of saying that he didn't do any work for Verizon. If he wanted to be hired by the planning board, he needed to say that he hadn't worked for Verizon so that he would not be seen as biased as a result of that work. Otherwise, he would not have misled you and would have had no incentive to mislead you. So once again, the fact that Mr. Allen misled you and did not tell you the truth about his prior work for Verizon means that neither he nor Verizon can credibly turn around now and say the fact that he did do work with Verizon on so many matters and so extensively for such a long period of time, indeed at the same time that he was working for you. They can't turn around now and say it's not important. And they can't say that the fact that Mr. Allen does have this extensive relationship with Verizon does not detract from his independence and does not create an appearance of impropriety. So in both directions, Mr. Chair, the fact that you asked this question, took comfort in the answer, and reported it to the board and to the public And the fact that Mr. Allen recognized the importance of the question and giving you the answer that would result in your hiring him, both of those facts in both directions prevent the board, prevent Verizon, prevent Mr. Allen from now turning around and saying, this will not detract from his independence, because otherwise you wouldn't have asked the question if it wasn't important, and he wouldn't have misled you if the truth were not important. So at bottom, if the board decides to accept the draft rejection of our request that's reflected in the resolution that was posted yesterday, at bottom, the board's rationale for rejecting our request that the board end its relationship with Mr. Allen and disregard his opinions just does not align with the facts and does not make sense. I therefore repeat that we respectfully request that the board grant our request and engage a new visual resource consultant who is genuinely independent of Verizon, who will not create an appearance of impropriety. And that the board rely on that consultant's advice to assist it with its secret analysis. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. So you can sit. So I need to, I just call it correct the record or inquire as to the, my previous statements. I believe I said, and I could have misspoke, but I will relate again what I thought I've said in the past, and I'll relate it again. When I approached Mr. Allen, it was in January of last year. And by the way, some of this information dates is unclear to me because I no longer have access to my emails that would represent my discussions, some of my discussions with him. I have no emails from the planning board before December 5th of last year. The reasons for that are interesting, and I'll simply say that the emails were purloined by somebody. The word purloined means taken. But my recollection of what Mr. Allen and I spoke about back in January of last year, and what I said publicly 3 weeks ago, or maybe it was 5 weeks ago, at one or more meetings, was I asked Mr. Allen exactly the following. Do you now work for Verizon? And he answered yes. Rather, he answered no. I have worked for Verizon. And I worked for them and finished that work for them in 2019. I did not. And he told me he was not working for Verizon at the time that I spoke to him in January. He also told me, I believe I related that to this board. He also told me that he works with a company called Homeland Towers, a third party that does work with carriers across the Northeast. And admittedly, apparently Homeland does 85% of their work with Verizon, and the rest of it, I don't know that for a fact, but and he didn't tell me that. But in any case, what he did tell me, whatever work he does for Verizon, he does through Homeland Towers. I did not ask him, was he doing any work at that point in time with Homeland Towers? To my recollection, I didn't ask him. And the reason I didn't ask him was probably because I didn't think it was important. That fact would be important. What was important was he working directly for Verizon at that time. And that was about the sum and substance of what I believe I asked him back in January, February. And I believe, and if anybody from this board remembers something different, I'd love to hear it. And I don't have my emails to be able to confirm what was said between myself and Mr. Allen. I can't even tell you if the emails existed. My recollection is that I documented it, and I would have done that on email. So I want to repeat, I asked him specifically, are you doing work with Verizon at this moment? Because would consider that to be very important in our consideration of whether or not to hire him, and he said no. And he told me when he finished and he worked directly with Verizon, and he said 2019. Now, from the statement just made, I heard 2021. I don't think that's borne out by Mr. Berg's letter that the board received.
It's what
Leave-
Verizon
Sit
said.
down and sit down, sit down. Don't interrupt me. I don't believe that's borne out by Mr. Berg's letter, but you know, that can certainly be checked tonight by somebody.
In the complaint written by Mr. Olson's client, Verizon, that Mr. Berg submitted with his letter. Verizon itself, they sued the town of Bedford for denying the application, right? And in their description of the chronology of Mr. Allen's work for them, it says that he did that from 2018 to 2021.
Okay, thank you, Larry. Sit down.
If I may,
No, we're not getting into debates. Larry,
there was a lot of misinformation, so.
well, I'm gonna let you speak, but not now. We're not gonna go back and forth. Larry and the rest of the public, I don't intend to be interrupted by any of you when I'm talking. Don't do it again. I'm serious. I do not interrupt anybody, and I'm letting you speak. In excess many times of the amount of time that I've told everybody else, which is 7 minutes. That's because I have a great deal of respect for this group. Period. But don't interrupt anybody from this board again. I expect courteous behavior on the part of everybody, including the board towards you. Okay, the next person on the agenda to speak is Ira Stern. And oh, by the way, Ira, if you don't mind, before you start, perhaps at some time we're going to be putting people on a stand in court. And at that time, when I just told you, I will repeat again without any compunction. And I certainly think that that's exactly what I said in this to this board at some time, either 3 weeks ago or 5 weeks ago. If I didn't, perhaps it was the late hour, whatever. I have no desire or reason to make stuff up. And I attempted to get everything correct in terms of my memory and exactly what I remember the conversation. And unfortunately, I don't have the emails. Now, I'd be happy to tell anybody in here who has the emails for you to go get a court order to divulge those emails. But it's not anybody in the town. It's not me. It's somebody who, as I said, purloined those letters or those emails. And not just from the planning board, for the entire town. The emails are not available before December 5th. So that's my recollection. And again, if the board remembers me saying anything else, I'd love to know, but that's my recollection. Okay, enough with that. Ira, you're next up.
Based on your introduction before we started, that you're not gonna consider the resolution tonight.
I'm sorry, Ira, I didn't.
Just based on what you started the meeting with by saying that you're not going to consider or vote on the
C&D?
The C&D,
resolution,
that's correct.
I'll pass.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you change your mind, we'll be here. Wait. Franny Hertz.
So I'm trying not to repeat myself, but part of me feels like I'm not being heard. So if I repeat myself, so be it. I'm urging you at the very least, imploring you to please declare a positive declaration and require Verizon to conduct an environmental impact statement. Given the 22 conditions and mitigations you are asking Verizon to include, it is obvious that this tower will have a significant adverse effect on all the issues we've all been raising for the last 8-9 months, whatever it's been. Feels like an eternity. It's gut wrenching for all of us. Clearly, on some level, you agree with the court of public opinion. People that are here that have waited all night to be here, the people who have signed petitions today, yesterday, like in no time. So if you didn't agree with the court of public opinion, you wouldn't have these 22 mitigations and conditions. That again, this I know I've said, but I really, do these mitigations actually work? What's the proof? What's the data? Do they work? Do they solve the problems, or do they exacerbate the problems? Because I feel like a lot of them exacerbate the problems and make it worse. And I don't need to explain that to you guys, because you're all really smart and I know you know what I'm talking about. And I just want to say, we all went to the zoning board meeting. This has really been great. This has been a great use of our time. So we went to the zoning board meeting, and the applicant referenced the amount of investment by Verizon for the tower. And I just want to remind you guys, and I'm sure I don't need to, the tireless investment your concerned neighbors, how much time we've put into this, and also how much time you guys have put into it. So it's not like, I don't have any sympathy for Verizon's amount of investment because of the investment we've all put in. And if we did the math, it would be a lot greater, what all of us have done to fight this tower. Also at the zoning board meeting, the applicant argued there's a need. I know the need is like whatever, hard to prove, it's, everybody has their own opinion about need. But there's still no proof provided except that Verizon's convoluted and corporate interests, which, by the way, Verizon's personal interest has been discussed by the applicant specifically. It's not the other carriers, right? So the need is very specific to Verizon. It has nothing to do with the people in this community. None of who want this tower. And it's been admitted by the applicant. I didn't come up with that. So an actual need's never been proven, especially considering the location on Granite Road in the middle of a neighborhood and in our iconic view shed, a site that was randomly chosen by the applicant through the process of elimination. As you guys remember, 15 properties were approached, and this was the one that it could happen on. It wasn't like they were like, oh, we need to put a tower right here in the middle of this neighborhood next to these houses and next to this low-income apartment building, because this is the important spot. It was the only one that was able to be approved, because 3 said yes, 2 weren't allowed because of our zoning, and this was the one. So the need thing is really questionable. So I just implore you to declare a positive declaration and make them do an environment. Thank you.
Thank you. Michelle Hertz.
This has actually been going on for over a year, and it's pretty bad for all of us. And I just want to point out an observation. Historically, the telecommunications industry and Verizon have blurred the line between lies and the true dangers of cell tower radio frequency microwave radiation. This is filtered down through all levels of government, including through this planning board, and that I find to be very sad. Then the lies are the lies, and the truth is the truth, and Verizon has now unveiled their threats, and they're threatening to sue. I heard it at the zoning board, and I'm sure you're hearing it. So that is one observation. I also want to raise another point. The zoning board asked that Verizon stake the proposed site so that they could see where this thing is going to be on the property, because it seems to change. When the balloon test was done, it was one place. Then Matt Allen took those photographs and tampered with them and put the cell tower behind trees. So it's really hard to know where this thing is supposed to be. So I'd like to know if anyone who knows when Verizon's going to do that and if they're going to do that. It's a question. You don't have to answer it now. I don't know who to ask, but I'd like to know, 1, is it going to be done? 2, when it will be done? And 3, will it be done with posts that are clear and bright enough so that the neighbors can see it without trespassing. And the other thing I want to mention is if someone were to come before this planning board and want to build a small industrial facility in front of your homes that is known to have emissions, how would you feel about that? These emissions, let's just say it's engine exhaust, constant 24/7 engine exhaust, blasting out. I don't think you would like it. I don't think you think it would be good for your property values. Well, just to let you know that radio frequency in the microwave range is a class 2B carcinogen in the same category as engine exhaust. So you see how this will affect the neighbors that live near it. They will not be able to sell their homes. Verizon's gobbledygook about real estate was gobbledygook. It wasn't, you even mentioned, Chairman said, I need a degree from MIT to understand this. Well, the fact is, it's not understandable. And some of the cell towers that they used were never even built to compare real estate values. Some of them was never even built. And they said they were or whatever. So please, this cell tower is in a bad place. And it's going to reflect on all of you if you let it happen. Thank you.
Yeah.
Julia Walsh.
Hi Dan. I don't want to just extemporaneously speak a little bit, following some of the other people. I mean, I've heard the same thing as far as Verizon putting $60,000 in the escrow, and I mean, they're a multi-billion-dollar company. They're not our good neighbor who should be given any kind of leeway in this situation. I went to the zoning board meeting as well, and it's like, just feels like there's this game of semantics going on as far as the height, what they could get the height later, the different carriers, and also the overlapping zones. I do have a lot of concerns about the need and the reports that, you know, Larry and Michelle paid for out of their own money, because they're concerned about both their own health, I'm sure, but also like our community, because they could just leave. And I think a lot of people in the neighborhood will leave because they don't want to live underneath a massive cell tower. Including, you know, these people that live literally 150 feet away who can't even come and speak because they're concerned that the landlord, who is basically the one, you know, who is allowing this, who's never showed up here once, and I don't even think lives in this area. You know, they're concerned that they'll be thrown out of they'll lose their house, if they speak out against it. So there is a very real concern, and, you know, I think some of you would agree potentially that there are some public health impacts that could be of concern with, I mean, it's just kind of common sense that some people wouldn't want to live right next to a cell tower like that. And I know that you can't legally deny the project based on that, but there are grounds that you can deny the project legally on. And so just once again, I mean, there's been multiple towns, including Woodstock, who have denied cell towers, and it's held up in court. So I don't understand why that can't happen here. And so just ask again for you guys to look at the legal grounds for this, including our code and our community character, which, you know, we do live in a very special
scenic region where the scenic byway and different, our view shed is actually worth a lot of money, whereas some communities, that's not the case. But it definitely is here. I mean, we have a world-class view shed. So, I wanted to submit this, petition that over 100 people have signed so far and still going, so I'm sure there'll be a couple hundred more. Mostly people from the town of Rochester and then also neighbors and visitors, so I'll just read the petition language and submit that. To the chairperson and the members of the town of Rochester Planning Board, we the undersigned residents, business owners, neighbors, and visitors ask that you require a full environmental impact statement concerning the proposed Verizon cell tower on Granite Road in Accord. After many months of reviewing the project, it appears that building a massive 14-story industrial cell tower in a residential neighborhood will have significant adverse impacts on our environment, property values, and community character, as well as our world-renowned scenic view shed along the Shawanga Mountain Scenic Byway corridor on Route 209 and Route 4455. Which includes the views of the Shawanga Bridge and Catskill Mountains. The information that you have been provided by hundreds of local residents who have signed petitions, submitted letters, attended and spoken at public hearings is more than sufficient to meet the threshold under New York State law to require full EIS that will consider the impacts to the environment and the community under the State Environmental Quality Review Act. That study will analyze in depth with independent experts how this proposed tower will impact the environment, wildlife, plants, the scenic view shed that powers our local tourist economy, which brings over 500,000 visitors to our region each year. The state park visits alone, and the community character of the town that makes it a place where we love to live, and many of us raise our children. Please vote yes on a positive secret declaration that will require a full environmental impact statements in the planning board to take into consideration before you make a final decision to reject or approve this cell tower. I'll just submit that. And I can email it as well. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Toby Stover.
Good evening. Thank you again for your service. Please bear with me as I read my statement, so I don't forget anything. Many years ago, I was involved in a movement to stop fracking in New York State. And Julie and I, a lot of us were involved in this group, many people in this room. No one wanted to live near an area that was fracked because of probable pollution of groundwater with fracking gas and chemicals. We prevailed, and we are relieved that a ban was created in New York. Imagine how this community would feel if there were a proposal to build a nuclear power plant in our neighborhood. Residents would be rightfully concerned. Now, imagine a scenario, in this case, that a town board would be prohibited to rule against such a proposal based on health concerns, which is what is happening here. We would all be outraged that such a gag order could possibly exist when it comes to the health and well-being of people and or wildlife. Yet, here we are today in the town of Rochester looking at a proposal for a giant electromagnetic radiating tower, and somehow the telecommunications industry has obtained the power to block any decisions against it based on health concerns. Even more ludicrous is a policy that can look at potential harm to wildlife, yet not consider human harm, as if we are impervious to these hazards. Yet everybody in this room is not impervious to these hazards. And we know that this is radiation. Even so, the people of this town have given the planning board plenty of reasons other than health to deny this application. So I'm going to give you those reasons right now. Concerning the environment. At the last meeting, Michelle Hertz read an impressive list of birds cited at the proposed site. It is clear that there would be significant negative impact on the wildlife in our area. Yet the board has been relying on Verizon's false claims that its mega cell tower will not have any adverse environmental impacts. 2, concerning the view shed. Matt Allen of South Hill Associates was hired by the board as its view shed expert. Yet, Mr. Allen has worked for cell tower companies, including Verizon. And I do agree very much with what Larry said here. This is clearly a conflict of interest. Could this spot be why Allen only used Verizon's terrible photos of their balloon test? Then Mr. Allen claimed that there would be no adverse environmental impacts if this cell tower were to be built in the middle of our community within one of the most beautiful view sheds in New York State. Allen should have been properly vetted before he was hired by the town, but apparently he was not. Based on photos submitted by residents, our photos, it is obvious that the tower would pierce the protected view shed. The planning board must reject Mr. Allen's findings. Concerning property values. Clearly, having a mega cell tower built right in the midst of our bucolic landscape near our homes is a real threat to property. I have spoken to many nearby property owners who are quite concerned about this and are already thinking of moving elsewhere. Why should Verizon profit at our expense? Concerning the character of our community. We reside here because we enjoy the lifestyle of living in harmony with our natural surroundings. Everybody here in this room, I'm sure. That's why we're not living in the city. A mega cell tower is an attack on the peace and beauty that sustains us. For months, you have heard from community members loud and clear. Nobody wants this cell tower except Verizon. Concerning the need for another tower. Clearly, we do not need another tower within a 5-mile radius. Let's tell the truth about this. Verizon has a need to profit and is competing with other providers in our area while trying to convince us that we are the ones who need this and we don't need it. We must not be bullied and cave to them for fear of being sued. And that's what it looks like, because we've given you so many reasons. Therefore, since the board cannot rule on the health concerns of the community, the planning board has been alerted to plenty of other red flags and should flat out deny this application. At the very least, the board should require an environmental impact statement, which means the board should issue a positive declaration in its SECRA Part 3 findings. The radiation from 5G, 4G cell towers can travel more than 10 miles. There are already 3 cell towers within a 5-mile radius of the proposed site. People living near cell towers are getting sick and people are fighting them across the country for that and other reasons. So, again, here are the other reasons. The tower would harm wildlife, adversely affect the neighborhood, destroy our community's character, lower property values, and last but not least, nobody wants or needs this cell tower. Let's do the right thing and reject this application. Thank you.
Thank you. Jeremy?
Members of the board, Mr. Chairman. Envy, I don't envy any of your positions there. I don't think I really want to trade places with any of you. Thank you for all you're doing. I sent a letter in. I'm not sure if you folks have had time to read it or if it's in your lexicon but I'm not gonna go through that here, but I would say give it a read. There might be a couple things in there that make sense to you. I'm just gonna kind of riff here for a second and I'll try to keep it focused and not go too long on a little clock. As far as Mr. Allen goes and also Mr. Fishman, it seems like both of those two folks have been shown to have let's just call it a bit of an industry empathy, right? So I don't know if that is disappointing to hear. Maybe you didn't know anything about that. Maybe this is news. I'm just, I would be interested to know if it would be something that would actually necessarily disqualify their opinion on anything, or if it's just kind of, oh, well, mistakes happen, who cares? They still, 2 + 2 is still 4, even if they, have a particular opinion, a particular background or something like that, of a conflict of interest. It seems pretty obvious. As far as the need goes, there's been really no demonstration of need because according to Verizon's counsel, they don't have to show you dropped call logs or missed call logs. They don't have to do any of that. So they're not gonna. So that's interesting. So there's really no need. We really don't have a need other than if we rely on the testimony of, I think it was Mr. Fishman or his opinion, which is that everything's groovy. So those two things are kind of interesting. They kind of go together. But aside from that, we really have no tangible, nothing we can sink our teeth into in terms of needs other than sort of hearsay about, well, those maps are no good, but look at our maps. Our maps are great. At the ZBA meeting, there was some discussion of future additions to a tower regarding the issue of like co-location and, well, if some other, and I'm far from an expert on this, so perhaps this is just nonsense, but follow me for a moment. Seems like, from what I gathered, if the tower was erected and then a few years later regarding co-location, if another carrier wants to put it in, but the tower's not big enough, then there's going to be certain laws that are going to say, well, we got to make it a little bigger. It's not our fault. It's the co-location law. And so I think there's a slippery slope here. I mentioned that a little bit in my letter, but I would urge the board to look into that and find out what's going down in the future, find out how it looks, because you can bet Verizon knows. They probably wrote the law, they're probably involved in the legislation. So you can be sure that Verizon's very clear on how things are going to look 25 years from now, because they clearly have advanced technology far beyond 5G or 7G or 8G. They know exactly what's coming down the line. So we're the only ones here who don't kind of see the big picture. Verizon certainly does. If this tower is put in at 145 foot or whatever, maybe it's 120 feet or whatever it may be. I would be willing to bet that there would be language in there which would allow an improvement to be made, or an addition, or it needs to be modernized, or I would say look into that, because there's likely going to be language in there that if the tower already exists, then it would need to be made more better, right? So think about that. There have been there have been articles in, let's see, Daily Freeman, Bluestone Press, and the Shawangunk Journal about the new assessments good lord, the new assessments in Rochester, they're gonna bankrupt everybody, and is your property really worth $500,000 because you got just a regular old mobile home on there and all this and that? I don't know how this is all gonna shake out, but it's not really good timing for this cell tower proposal, because you got a lot of residents really looking at the numbers about how valuable their property is right now. And you got a lot of people, such as some of the folks that were here earlier today, that want to come in, they want to do subdivisions, they want to do this, they want to sell houses, build houses, sell them to city people who can come up here. And the city people, boy, oh boy, don't they just love the view. Don't they just love the view, and they want to live in nature, and they're tired of being next to the skyscrapers and all the water towers with the radiation and so there's a lot of people that want to come up here because they have the kind of things that we have, and there's a lot of people looking at property values. If you think that maybe the cell tower is going to increase people's property values, I think maybe there's an argument to be made that no, that's not accurate. Even the same could be true for just folks coming up who want to visit, take in the sights and things like that. So I think you got a real clear issue about property values going down with this big, I'm not gonna call it an eyesore, but it's gonna be a big tower. It's not gonna look like a tree or a mountain or whatever you want it to look like. It's gonna, you know, it's gonna look like the ones that you see when you're on 87 or something. Like, look at that big thing. I don't think it's gonna help out any of the view shed or the property values or anything like that. So, you know, if this thing gets put up and it looks the way a lot of people are fearing that it's gonna look, you're gonna have egg on your face, and it's not gonna look so great. If it's not put up, and then everyone is sad because they can't scroll Facebook as fast as they want to be, and they need to, don't worry, another carrier will come. There'll be another proposal to put in another tower, and you can green light it and everything will be great. But in the meantime, if this thing looks as bad or causes the kind of commotion that it could cause right now, while everyone has kind of got their ear to the ground for town meetings and the board and who said this and whatever, and articles and publications, it's not gonna look good. I don't know if you want that to be your legacy. I don't know, but that's.
Jeremy, I think you're bumping up against 10 minutes, so let's wrap it up.
Okay, great. All I'm gonna say here is, you know, the word fascism gets thrown around a lot these days between the presidency and this and that. Well, so I think the actual Webster definition of fascism is characterized by the merger of state and corporate power, right? So now we have corporate folks writing legislation for the state, which I find interesting. So I think this is an adorable little glimpse into how fascism starts and what it's all about, and when corporate power kind of binds the hands of the people, for the people, by the people, but yet not quite, because there's certain things you can't take into consideration and you're not allowed to base your opinions on, and that sort of stuff. So anyways, I'll pretty much leave it at that. I just would have one last question, which is to play devil's advocate for just a moment. It seems as if the board is looking to move forward and grant the proposal for the tower and that sort of things. At least it seems that way from you, Mr. Chairman. It seems like you're happy about the tower, and you know what could possibly go wrong, and it's a good thing and that sort of stuff. I don't know what people's motivations are. I don't know, but it seems like you're interested in sort of dismissing most of the public commentary, and you're looking for reasons to move this thing forward. I don't know why, but maybe if that is true, maybe you can tell us. Maybe there is a good reason to move this along that we just don't understand because we're just too busy caught up in the pollution and the eyesore. I don't know. But if you can enlighten us and tell us why it's a good thing that we have this, then maybe we'd be on your side and we could all kind of come to terms. That's it. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you. That's really kind.
So I'm not sure what will motivate the board for whatever way they rule or vote. But what we're interested in is facts, the law, the code. And that's what we'll do. Nobody has a dog in this fight of any sort. And if you want to know all the specifics as to why this may be approved, you need to read the documentation that's been made available on the system that's available to the public. One is called the Part 3, the seeker Part 3. The other one is called the resolution of conditional negative declaration. So that gives a good idea of what the board is using as facts and to guide their decision one way or the other. And I hope to be able to get in the next 15-20 minutes to a robust discussion of both of those documents. So I'm hoping that the other speakers will move it along. We want to hear from you, but would move it along so that we might have that robust discussion that I was anticipating. So, Bob Lesno.
Thank you. Appreciate your time. Would just like to speak to something that you just said. And segue into, I think, most important points I wanted to make. The one who really does have a dog in this fight is Verizon, because they want their tower. And as far as the board looking for quality guidance in making its decision, the hiring of this gentleman, Matt Allen, who did not disclose clearly in any obvious way the potential conflict of interest because of past and potentially present business relationships with Verizon. The guidance that he has offered about this particular project has to be looked at with question. And the very fact that if it is true that the draft for Part 3 of Seeker was kind of using language that may have actually been borrowed from collaboration, if not collusion, with Verizon. If that were true, that would certainly be a strong piece of evidence to disqualify Mr. Allen's guidance for the board's decision-making in this particular thing. So I would like to reinforce the questioning of his credibility as an expert environmental consultant. And also amplify the request that has been made that he be replaced with someone who would engender more trust by the community itself and whose guidance the board could rely on with much greater reliability. And I would like to also amplify the request that has been made by many community members at this point, that a positive declaration in the Part 3 of Seeker be made such that a more full environmental impact statement can be pursued. And I would just end what I have to say by saying, when I looked at the email address of the planning board today, what really struck me was zoning board of appeals at townofrochester.newyork.gov. This planning board is a part of the New York State government. And good governance, it should be a part of what the standard that this board should embody in its planning, its decision making, and allowing this person of dubious credibility to have such an influence over the guidance
in decision-making around this particular project that I think is a really poor decision and would reflect poorly in this issue of good governance. So thank you for your.
Eric Hertz.
Wanted to make more. One more thing that hasn't been brought up. That an environmental thing, but it's the community, the valley, one of the most important things to all of us here is the farming community. And how will this have an impact on the farming community? We have 3 towers already. They can have co-locator on them. I don't know how many they have. There've been a lot of studies, maybe it's not a fact, but there've been a lot of studies about bees. I asked a good friend of mine the other day, who's a farmer, he grows vegetables and corn. I said, what would happen if the bee colony collapsed in the valley? Because this is not going to be the last cell tower. And he said, we'd be growing corn. We could grow nothing but grain without bees. They have to have the bees. And so this is, Verizon's not going to tell us now this is the last cell tower that they're going to propose. They're not going to tell us it's not going to be co-located on it. And AT&T is not going to say, we're not going to build. So there has to be a point where the town says no more cell towers. And I know you guys are, your hands are tied a lot by that 1996 law, that federal law. But Phillipsburg stopped Verizon for 7 years with a lawsuit. And it went back and forth in court. 7 years. And I don't know, but I would imagine AT&T and Verizon and the other carriers are looking at that saying, probably Phillipsburg is not a good place to build another tower. It took us 7 years. So I don't think we should roll over. I'm not saying we should get in the middle of the lawsuit. But if in fact, there's a 4th tower and a 5th tower and a 6th tower, and suddenly the bees collapse, and there are no bees in this valley, there won't be much farming either. It'll just be corn or grain, according to my friend. So I think that's something we should think about. Thank you.
Ben Lieberman,
Hi, good evening.
how are you?
Doing well. Thank you for your time and all your careful deliberation and thought. I submitted a letter earlier today regarding this matter. I'm speaking tonight as a resident of Vanderburg. Voice my strong opposition to the proposed Granite Road cell tower. A massive tower in the heart of our community will have irreversible adverse impacts to the town's historic character and aesthetics, say nothing of its impact on the Shango Bridge viewshed. I urge the board at a minimum to issue a positive declaration and secret findings. Furthermore, it's come to my attention, so we've heard extensively that Matthew Allen, the board's independent visual resource expert, has extensive ties to the applicant. And according to a March 20th letter from Robert Berg, that is a public record, misrepresented that relationship to this board, and also here argued earlier, Mr. Chair, that is questionable as to whether it was misrepresented, but nevertheless, to avoid any semblance of a conflict of interest, I urge the board to disqualify Mr. Allen and said that the associates disregard his analysis and hired a truly independent U-shaped consultant. Does not have extensive ties to the fight in question. Alternatively, recognizing financial limitations and that Verizon has threatened to withhold funding if you were to disregard Mr. Allen's findings, I urge the board to hire an additional consultant, but without professional and financial advice to at least verify Mr. Allen's analysis.
Patricia?
Thank you so much for letting me present and for all of your time. I mean, this is such a sensitive issue. My name is Patricia Hanlonier. I've lived in the town of Rochester 48 years. I've stayed here because it is the most beautiful place to live. I was part of fighting fracking in our town. And it was really impressive how the supervisor of our town listened to the documentation, how it would affect our town and how it would affect our health. And he actually joined us and actually helped us spread it to other towns, the information. I guess I'm confused. There are so many reasons not to have a cell tower. First of all, it's not been proven that we have a need. Interesting, I just this weekend went to visit a friend in the town of Marbletown. And I took the back roads. I live up off of Queens Highway. I lost cell tower, my cell reception way up there in the town of Rochester and going into Marbletown. And nobody's putting a tower up there. And yet a tower is going to be put in the middle of the town of Kerhonkson, near where people live. There are so many other areas that need cell reception that aren't being looked at. And I don't understand why, when there's so much opposition in our town and so many people are saying brilliant evidence of why you have an opportunity that you could listen to us. And I don't know, it just doesn't feel that there's reception. The presentation that someone has been advising you that has any ties to Verizon, I don't care if it was 10 years ago, if he worked for Verizon, he should not be representing our town. It has to be someone that has no ties. And I guess there's a question for me is, what is the town, our government, going to get out of it? Someone said to me, well, maybe the town is going to be making money on having Verizon here. I don't know. I don't know what we would get out of it. There's no benefit, but maybe you're going to have a little bit more reception, but for the animals, for the environment, for people, for disappointment on the place that I've made my home. And this means a lot to me. My health means a lot to me. I know people who are affected by EMFs. Please consider that this is a mistake. And you know, Verizon, it's their business. And we know corporations only care about money. They don't care about us. And so I also submitted a letter today. Thank you.
Lori Harrison.
I came to this meeting, I sat and I listened for a really long time when we talked about rattlesnakes over and over and over again.
Can you speak a little louder?
I said, I came to the meeting today and I sat and I listened a lot of talk about rattlesnakes for a long time. And I thought, that's fantastic. I mean, that's what we should be focusing on. But it seems like there's really no consideration about the wetlands. They don't know the law. They think you're not allowed to talk about it. That doesn't mean we can't consider it, and that we don't know it's important. So I just want to mention that there's a lot of laws that aren't necessarily good. And yes, maybe we have to follow them, but we're human. Doesn't mean we can't consider what's important. So, and I also don't think, yes, corporations, they're businesses. I don't think they hide that they want to make money. But they don't have to make money on the backs of our community. And need, I've been to a bunch of these meetings, not all, but a lot. Haven't seen one person come and say there was a need. One person came and said that that cell phones are good for emergencies, 911. I don't think that's being disputed. But I haven't seen one person come and get up and say we have a need or they have a need. So.
Thank you. T. Bimka.
Good evening, board members, this is my first time speaking at the board. I'm a homeowner here in Accord. I've been a property owner since 2008. I came to this area because it's a place of tremendous beauty and tranquility. I am a cell phone user. I've been using my cell phone. I have absolutely no problem getting a signal and have been very operational on my cell phone. So I personally do not see that there is a need for an additional tower in a residential community. I wonder if there's been an environmental impacts study that would look at co-locations of really amplifying already existing cell towers, like why do we need another one versus piggybacking on towers that are already there. I know as a homeowner, I would not, like right now today, if there was a cell tower that's less than a mile from my home, I would not be buying in that area. That's like a very clear. And in fact, even today, my roommate said, wow, if they put up the cell tower, I'm gonna have to move. You know, there's like very real reality for folks in terms of medical considerations. So I don't see that there's a need. I hear that there's a bias, potential bias and credibility issues. There are already pre-existing towers that could be piggybacked. I'm not sure why we need this and who's truly benefiting other than the leaseholders. And I'm also concerned that out of all the places that the cell tower could have been put, the one place that said yes is very low income and maybe they really need the money. And it just feels like one of those, sometimes the term environmental racism, I don't know if it's people of color who live there, but people who have fewer options. So I really question the motivation of like where this got placed and why we're not considering more more commercial industrial locations if we in fact even need it. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that ends the public hearing for tonight. Give Verizon a chance to talk and then the board needs to get to
I would just like to respectfully request that the board consider closing the hearing tonight. I know the chairman said he would not. But except for the new issue of this alleged unsupported conflict of interest. I mean, we just sat through, I don't know how long it was, but it's repetitive. This might be the 7th time we're hearing the same thing over again. The comments are important, but to hear them 7 times to reiterate what we've heard. I personally think it's time that the board consider closing the hearing. I understand you may not want to, but that's my respectful request.
So I respect your request. I'm not going to grant it. I simply think that first I gave my word that we would continue the and I'm not gonna, unless the board wants to vote over me on that, but I'm just not gonna grant that request.
Be specific, the public has requested and deserves the right to review we put up the draft part 3 and also the draft, the C&D resolution within the last few days. They're both significant, the part 3 is particularly significant. They deserve the right to just, take a look at all that technical stuff and comment on it. Moreover, if the board were to move toward a C&D, as you know, there would be the requirement of a 30-day comment period under seeker. Typically, seeker comment periods are accompanied by a public hearing, and so the board's the clear movement here is just to continue the public hearing through that process, and that's.
No, and I understand, we could disagree about what is legally required or not, but I understand your position, have to make it.
Well, thank you. Legally, at least in terms of the public hearing for a site plan approval, we have to have one public hearing session. Ask the public to give us all the facts they know about and then we can close it.
Correct.
That's not the way this board operates. It's not the way many boards operate. I can understand why you might think that we're hearing more than you want, and I get it, but it's going to be open. It's going to be open for the C&D if the board moves in that direction. and closing it now and then reopening it, next, in a couple of weeks for the CND is not.
And I could be wrong, I don't know that a hearing is required to be reopened for that, I think it's a 30-day comment period.
It is, but again, it is very rare that a secret comment period is not accompanied by a public hearing, right?
I understand, I just reading the law.
And also, as I said, the part 3 was only went up a few days ago. And that actually that's a new document and has a lot of the environmental analysis in it that the board is looking at now, and they deserve it. I mean, if there's an approach that says we want to hear comment on the most important issues that the board is dealing with, rather than the ones the public may think is the one they want to talk about, the part 3 has that, and they deserve the right to take a look at that and get back to us.
They have the right to look at it. I'll leave it at that.
Fair enough.
I just would like to say though, on the conflict of interest, we submitted a letter. Obviously, it's the board's decision. But what Mr. Friedman said today, I take exception with, even his attorney would not say what Mr. Friedman tonight said. And that was, he's saying that there is an extensive relationship between Mr. Allen and Verizon. They cite to one instance that the zoning did occur in 2019. In 2021, I believe that's when the case was filed. I was not involved with it. I had no idea about it. But to say there's this extensive relationship and to point to one, and by the way, there's nothing in the law that says a municipal consultant can't work for the industry and can't work for municipalities. In fact, that's odd that happens.
Scott, I'm sure you had a chance to see the part of the draft CND where we addressed this issue. It's addressed at length. I would just say that the citizens who spoke have chosen to look at one particular aspect of it, and we all have different opinions as to whether they've accurately represented it. But there's going to be a number of layers to the question of how we handle Matt Allen's contribution, and I'll tell it to the public as well. The questions are addressed in the draft CND. We look forward to hearing your comments on that when you've had a chance to review it and digest it, but there's more to it than the question of the number of times, Matt.
And I would just reiterate my experience. I've been doing this, I started working with Verizon in 1996, so I guess it's 30 years since.
Getting old.
I'm getting away too long time with this stuff. Having said that, I don't know how many applications I've prosecuted, but I'm assuming 5, 6, 7, 8, somewhere in that ballpark. Not once have I, with an application with Verizon, worked with Matt Allen. So if, as Mr. Berg is suggesting, that Matt Allen's beholden with Verizon, well, no one told me about that, and I haven't had any experience. And I basically worked with Verizon from Oneida County down to Sullivan County, Columbia, Ulster. So I do a fair amount of work in the state and pretty much have half in the state. And I have never once in all his applications ever worked, or Mr. Allen has never worked with Verizon, or presented Verizon on one of the applications I've been involved with. So I just want to put that.
So, thank you, Scott. Just a comment. There's so many facts that could be not refuted, but counterfacts, let's call it counterfacts presented, that it would take hours and if not days to go through them one by one, and I'm not so sure that would necessarily satisfy somebody who's against the tower. I'll give you an example of one that I heard tonight, this business about when is the last time that Mr. Allen worked for Verizon. My understanding of reading the facts or reading the record, it was 2019. You referenced, and so did Mr. Friedland, 2021. I believe that was because Matt Allen was quoted in the court case that accompanied that work that he did for Verizon. It was a court case for the town of Worcester, I believe. Could get that wrong. But that 21 was in reference to him being quoted in the court case, and whether or not he actually testified on behalf of Verizon, but he was quoted in it. So that could be. So you have things presented that are on the face factually correct, but when you dig, he stopped working for them. My reading of the record in 2019. Bedford, thank you. I mean, it's a small point, but it's an example of we could be at this for days, weeks, months, years, and, which is fine. But at some point, hang on,
I'm sorry, I opposing taping the meeting by camera. I don't know how it's gonna be used. Already was some inclination about threatening of the board member. This is taping for community. This is not, I oppose private taping of the meeting.
so is there any? Thank you. Are there any laws against taping?
Not that I know, of. It's a public meeting.
It's an open meetings law.
I didn't think so. So going back to what I said. You know, factually, I understand 2021, but I don't believe he was working for them then. He was quoted in a document, and that may be a misunderstanding. But anyway, in any case, it's very important, I think, from my perspective, that the board move on tonight and get to going through the document. I urge the public to read the documents that we put up on the system for your viewing, for our viewing. There are two of them. One is 12, 13 pages long, the other one's 6 or 7 pages. And I think that'll be very useful. Do you want to make any comments about conflicts of interest in general, or you rather just leave that be?
Again, I mean. There's.
And by the way, we do address it in both these documents, but
I just want to make clear to the public that the issue of how the board is to handle the allegations against Matt Allen. I mean. And what I just alluded to a few minutes ago, there's a number of layers to this, because the one thing that's of equal importance as to the impression that people may have as to his lack of independence, which, as Scott just mentioned, you know, the ethical issues can be overstated. The public's looking at it a certain way, but setting that aside for the moment, if we were to set aside Matt Allen's contributions as they're stated, all of them, let's say, that would leave the record before, if it were even possible, which I don't think it is actually, because of a number of issues, but if it were possible to do that, that would leave the record, just to make it clear, that would leave the record before the board as the only expert weighing in on the visual would be Verizon's consultants. I can't, even just theoretically, before we get into the specific facts, I don't see how you can mistrust Matt Allen's contribution so thoroughly that we're better off with just the applicant's consultant. Having said that, I want to point out to the public that one of the ways we looked at it was to divide Matt Allen's advice to the board in 2 categories. One of which is the specific technical advice that helped the board structure the environmental impact review in terms of the the balloon test, all the specifics. And the second was his sort of overall advice in terms of the ultimate issues of significance. I want to again point out my impressions to the public that, number one, there was very, very little pushback against his technical advice at the time. I still haven't seen very much from the public criticizing it. For all the criticism of him overall as being untrustworthy, I don't know what he's actually told us that falls afoul of where the public would want us to be. But again, this is all sort of embedded. We couldn't possibly lose it. And there's one other point that needs to be made here that that folks who commented may not have fully internalized, which is that many of the comments asked the board to essentially replace him, which makes a lot of sense from the point of view of people that want his contribution thrown out. We can't do that. And the reason we can't do it is because the federal government has demanded that we complete our review within 150 days, except to the extent that we agree with the applicant to extend it for reasons of making a better review. We're way beyond that at this point. We're about a year and a half into this almost. So we cannot unilaterally go out and just hire another consultant and redo this. The applicant would have to agree, and they don't. And what that means is if we were to throw out Matt Allen's contribution, we're left with 0. Now, again, there are two aspects to his contribution. One is the technical advice that he gave the board, which has been implemented in things like the balloon test and the simulations and a whole variety of things. And the second is his overall evaluation. And the short message to the public, and this is, everything I've told you, by the way, is documented in the draft resolution, so it's all there. The public may be reassured by the fact that the board is not going to consider his recommendations in terms of the overall recommendation to the evaluation of the significance. The board is independently looking at issues of the significance of the tower as viewed from the key locations. And also, the board is looking at the issue of the significance of the tower is looked at from the Granite Road neighborhood, which he did not recommend that we do, because he's mostly looking at it from a point of view of the state regulatory structure. So to the extent that the public is interested in our setting aside his subjective determination, that's happening. The documents that you see reflect that. To the extent that the public is suggesting that we set aside all of his recommendations relating to the structuring of the environmental review, what does that leave us with? This does not go away if we were to subvert the review as has been suggested. It leaves us with a bare record. And the applicant has a right to shut this down. It's been clear for people who've been coming here that from time to time, Scott has mentioned that we have to renew the shot clock waiver. That's what we do every 2 months. And we've been doing it because the applicant has been satisfied that we've been progressing on this. And believe me, as a person who is an advocate for citizens, I perfectly well understand the frustration with the idea that federal legislation has boxed us in like this. There are very, very few land use applications, seeker applications that come before this board where we're boxed in either by time or on the substance. This is one of them. The federal government, for better or for worse, has determined that cell towers in general deserve a short review and that the board does not have the ability to prohibit, or whatever the words are of the Telecommunications Act, cell service in the town. And one of the most important here is the time frame, what's called the shot clock. So, and I want to also say, from my perspective, it's not merely the threat of being sued. I think that we have the threat of being sued clearly from either side. It's a question of following the law. We may not like the law. Some of us may or may not. Many of you folks may not, and I perfectly well understand that. And I spent many years on your side of this. We do not like this law. But it's federal law, and it's pretty unambiguous. And so the question for us is not whether we're afraid of getting sued. We may or may not. It's kind of my job to try to avoid that, but that may not be possible. The question is whether we follow the law. And I would suggest to some folks that based on many of the other things that are happening in this country, it may be worthwhile, even as a abstract matter, to go and say that what the law says does matter, and it is worthwhile. We may not like all the norms and all the laws, but when it tells us to close down a review, which it says, that will inspire our actions. That will frame our actions here in a way that no other seeker review, no other site plan review would in the circumstances that we're in. And so I would ask the public to look at the moving pieces here, to look at the reality of the fact that we hire an industry expert who has worked for industry, but he's going to work for us. He's one of the more prominent experts in the state, use him to a certain extent, and in light of the objections that have been raised, to take a careful look at what he's told us and figure out what's usable and necessary and what, in light of your concerns, is better left set aside, which is what we were doing anyway, to be perfectly honest. This board listened to what he said and said, we're not going to go there in many instances. And so to the extent that you wondering whether I don't necessarily believe that an industry perspective filtered through, but to the extent that it did, this board has done something else.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's why you have JD after your name and I don't.
That's right.
Thank
Having
you.
said that, we look forward to your comments when you've had a chance to digest them in a couple of weeks. Very interested in it.
So, tonight's public hearing was over. And if the board needs a break, fine, but let's jump into the documents and there are a couple of things we need to review.
I'd just like to say one thing, directly to the public. There's been a couple of references to the fact that we're not getting information. And I know, speaking for myself, I've read every letter, I've read every document, I've read every page of everything submitted from everybody in this. And so I just want to assure the audience, the public, that we are getting everything. Stacy's doing a killer job getting stuff up for us, and we read it. And David so eloquently said, there's a lot of other issues here, but that's something that's been mentioned over and over and over again. This is very serious to all of us here. It's very stressful to all of us, and we take it very seriously. So it was my only comment directed back.
Thank you, Peter. Not only does Peter read everything, I know that every member of the board reads everything, because I get at all hours questions about stuff. It's like, oh, damn, he's actually reading that thing. So, yeah, I read that too, and here's what it means. So anyway, I want to thank the board for arguably just a great board. You read everything and great insights. Okay, so I think we're done with the public hearing for tonight. 5 minutes, and then let's come back and at least spend a half hour for 2 or 3 issues that we need to talk about in the context of the documents. So when I run for president. I couldn't have put it.
Sorry.
Is that a piece of chocolate? Because my immediate reaction is gonna be.
Technically, yes.
That's.
These are really good.
I'm sure the other just.
I had them when I worked at the co-op. There's a cherries and berries one that I. There's a coconut.
How are you? So I wasn't sure if you're gonna need your input on something like Dignified or even this. So if you have another half hour.
Yeah, Greg wrote that.
Yeah, and then I get through from somewhere.
Oh, really? Okay, that's really fun to hear.
So
I know
yeah, for now.
Until the next
So
meeting.
actually, I'm glad you remind, you can actually leave, not because I want you to leave, but you can leave.
Okay, if there's nothing more.
But we have to talk about, no, you know what, I'm sorry, we're gonna talk about the fences around the containment.
The sound anyway.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
So we do, sorry.
Yeah, but I know Greg just, he just mentioned.
Okay, to whatever extent you can.
What if they do?
In terms of charges, and he's the latest.
I've been advised about
Great,
Good
job.
whatever way Rich does that, but I think the job of the project.
Yeah, well, it takes, whatever, 5, 6.
You know, if you spend 5 or 10 million.
Right there, right.
We charge the town.
Have the project on the system, like, so they figure out, doesn't even know, Greg was even asked to. Reviews for them, so we might not have an internal job.
Okay, I'm not sure.
Yeah, like, so probably like a lot line, real line side,
Yeah.
Greg ever prepared anything on those.
Oh, not those.
Yeah, those are, yeah.
Either, thank you.
Engineering.
Thank you.
It makes sense.
My thing is if
You never
That's
say.
the only one we talked about.
You never say. You said it was true, you never say anything like that.
Yeah, but if you're. I'm just over. Yes, exactly. You're so communally located.
Right, so.
We need to get back together. The public is more than welcome to stay. We're gonna be talking about decisions about the height, decisions about the compound and the fencing around the compound.
Yeah.
And there's a few other things that our attorney wants to talk to us about that you don't know about. You do know about, but you might have forgotten.
But this problem, you can tell.
I want to remind him.
We're going up with push a button, something was gonna come out. Yeah.
Next step.
All right, so given the late hour. Given the late hour, I was actually gonna go through the documents. Almost page by page and see if there was any comments, but I'm not gonna do that. I'm going to simply ask whether or not you've had an opportunity to look at the various pictures that were sent. The diagrams, picture labeled 3 and 3A, which presented two different ways of looking at the monopine. And I believe I sent you, no, I didn't, I just aren't gonna send it out. But I want to know if you have an opinion one way or the other about number 3 or number 3A. If you don't tonight, you can certainly send me something in the email. My recommendation, I'm ambivalent. These are supposed to be white pines. White pines have a crazy shape. One of the shapes which puts more of a pyramidal shape at the top is more of a spruce shape. The other one, which is sort of a flat top with both the steel and the antenna end at the top, and so it has a flat look. That's closer to what many white pines look like in the wild, but it depends on how old they are and all that. So I really don't have a preference, although I like the coverage at the top, the pyramidal at the top. So I just need for you all to weigh in on that. So Ann?
I send you a couple of sites, companies who are making those type of pines. It doesn't have to be flat and it doesn't have to be extended. They come up with all kind of different configurations.
I think I missed that too, because I honestly don't remember.
I try to find it.
Would you send it to me again?
There are a number of companies who make those pines.
So here's the only thing I say about that is
And I'm opposing increase in height. There is no need for it.
you're opposed?
Yeah,
that what you said?
to aid in extra to make a pyramid.
Okay, so you would go with the flat top. Okay,
And there are ways to cover those antennas as well.
okay.
Flat top as well.
Anybody else on that?
I'm against making it any taller than it needs to be, and I agree that with the white pines, they don't have, a lot of them do not have a conical top.
Great.
And so I think.
Okay, so flat top.
Yeah.
Hans, you have an opinion one way or the other?
My concern is that we don't build additional cell phone towers, or that we minimize the building of additional cell phone towers, so I will be interested that from a technical perspective, allocation is possible. And that whatever works is, I'm not sure.
Okay. David?
I'm for less height.
So the flat top.
Yep.
I am for less height, and we heard some comments that sort of alluded, I think, to the design. But I don't believe we've received any specific comments about this component. Is that correct? So with that being said, if we received more public comments on their thinking, because this is a visual impact issue, right? If we receive additional comments as part of the open comment period, I would consider them, but I agree that I don't want it any colors than it needs to be.
Okay. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. There is the issue of the fencing, and I'm gonna tell you what my opinion is. There have been some talks about the generator itself needs to be closely fenced in, either on one side, two sides, four sides, the generator. I think that's a bad idea for maintenance purposes. I just don't think it's workable from a mechanical point of view. So I would opt for making sure that the generator has enough internal baffling, whatever you want to call it, to dampen the sound. And then the 50 by 50 fence that goes around is not chain link. It's such that you can't see what's in there. And then it also has, and Scott, I want some proposals from you that our engineer can look at. The fencing, the 50 by 50, has some sound attenuation capabilities. Although you all know that sound travels upward, it doesn't necessarily travel lateral. So I will remind the board that according to the noise study, factual, that the sound emanating from this once every 2 weeks, and then in an emergency, is less than what you would get from a human voice. It's certainly less than what would be required by our code. It's under the amount for the code. So again, to ask for anything more beyond what's been already proposed is just hard to substantiate. So that's what I would go for. No internal fencing around the generator. Again, for fire, for safety, there's just a whole bunch of reasons where I don't think it's workable. But we need to be assured that the degree to which it's baffled internally, and certainly we need to see, we don't want chain link, want something that.
No, the plans actually show a solid fence. I think they
Okay.
show currently a vinyl, but I know in the draft documents. I don't know if it specified the clapboard. I think
That's what it said.
Yeah, dark.
Does anybody from the board have any other
How
opinions?
many decibels is the
It turned out to be 47 decibels. They compared it to the ambient.
Yeah.
And it came out to be, based on the ambient and what it was under what was required by our code.
Yeah.
But Rick, but
Yes.
I'm sorry, but ambient, they consider ambient with the traffic on that road. That road has a very little traffic. And considering apartment next to it, I think still needs to be enclosed. And for maintenance, they can open up some wall and maintain it. And it's not gonna be more insulated than it comes from the factory floor. So whatever comes from the factory floor, the company who makes a generator create a spec. And it's counting that it's gonna be insulated more. It's
You're
not-
probably
not
right about
gonna
the additional.
materialize.
You're probably right about the additional insulation. What you see is what you get
Right.
from the
But
manufacturer.
it does come, though, I think the spec sheet that we provided shows you that it does come with certain
Right, but
baffles or sound attenuation.
but the data of the noise generator was given for the analysis based on the factory that already has the insulation.
Okay, so let's assume that whatever you get is what we get.
Yeah.
Right.
But
Um,
47 decibels, that's very low.
It's not very, I agree, it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, but 47, what, on a board,
It doesn't matter, I mean, 47 if you were standing
No,
next.
no,
to
I
it, you are.
understand, but
I also would
But
disagree with
still-
you that there's very little traffic. It's quite a thoroughfare.
really,
Yeah, it is, goes, I take that road all the time because.
okay.
Well, it's not 209, but it's certainly.
It's not 209, but there is substantial.
Okay, so I'm gonna stand by what I said, sir, and I appreciate that, but you are correct about the internal baffling. Okay, the only two other things I had, this one is easy. Dave and Dave, these two Daves. Number 9F, which in the part 2 was a moderate, somehow disappeared from the last version of the part 3.
What is it?
9F. 9F is. Stacy, do you have
It's aesthetics.
yeah, and
There are
it's
similar projects visible within.
Oh, you know what it is? It's the section that talks about their similar projects
The
within
distance.
quarter mile, half mile, 3/4 of a mile, a mile. That we said because of what towers? We did check that off as moderate, but it disappeared from the last version somehow.
So it's a subset of visual impact?
Yeah, subset of aesthetics. 9 is aesthetics, right, Dave?
Correct.
Okay, so it's a subset of, we checked off this, I think there's 4 categories under there. We checked off B and C as being moderate. But we had also checked off F, but it just disappeared. So all I'm saying is, we could talk about it later. Let's look into it.
We
And
have
it
2 extensive discussions on visual impact. If you think that we need more because of some particular aspect that question represents, that, I mean, I'm not even sure what it would be, but if you think that we need to, we can sit down and put in a sentence or a paragraph that relates to that deals.
I think
with
we
it.
should do that because when the board did the part 2, this one was checked off as a moderate, but then in the part 3, it got lost.
Well, again, I'm not, as I sit here, I'm not exactly sure what it refers to, but if you wanted to go ahead and either call us or draft something.
Okay. I will do that. I'll do that.
Obviously.
You're gonna write it?
What?
I heard I'm gonna do it.
Dave is very busy already. You're writing it.
I don't even know what it is.
And I will talk to you tomorrow.
Are
about
there
it.
similar projects?
Just answer your phone.
Visible within the following distance of the proposed project?
Okay, so let's talk about it.
There's a one within 2 miles.
But what does that mean in terms of the?
It's a statement that.
All right, so I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Okay.
When I call you, answer your phone. And then there was one more thing.
Well, I gotta go home and charge. Can I go?
No. There was one more item that you wanted, I think you wanted to bring up. It was the statement from one commentator about the issue of too many structures on the site. And with the residences, it's already built out. So there's a comment about an underlying zoning issue.
The guy wrote laughs, so I'm not sure if it's helpful, but I can tell the public. I believe it was Ira.
Yeah.
At least I think twice made objections to the board's proceeding based on his interpretation of the zoning law, and these are pretty core zoning issues, at least collateral ones relating to multiple uses on the site, density and things like that. And what I told him orally at the time from this chair was that those types of zoning issues in general, and those types in particular, are matters for the code enforcement officer. And they're actually the planning board's actually prohibited from impeding applications as a result of those. I told me at the time that he was telling, I told him basically to go tell the CEO, and he said, I'm telling you, and the chair actually jumped in and he had some difficulty. That's the same answer. The question was whether to put it in these documents, and it was something that was excluded from the seeker review because it's a zoning determination. For the board's knowledge, I did draft today a short paragraph specifying that. I did not originally draft it for these documents again because it was excluded from our seeker review. But if the board wants to acknowledge that comment and put it back, I'm not sure if you saw the draft. The chair has it, but we could easily, or I could just read it now. Actually, if it's of any value, it's actually not that extensive.
There it is. I have it.
All right. So this is a potential addition for the draft C and D, for example. Reads as follows, my draft. One commenter raised concerns relating to the project's compliance with the underlying zoning, in particular, adding the structure to a parcel already built out with residences. Under state law, the planning board does not have the authority to interpret the zoning code to determine whether a project complies with the underlying zoning. Instead, this jurisdiction is vested with the code enforcement officer, CEO, and the ZBA on appeal from the CEO determination. And I cite the case C. Swans versus Planning Board of Village of Cobleskill with the site. And there was another appellate division case I could have cited but didn't put in. So that is just the same answer I gave to Ira.
So what do you recommend?
And if we can put it in the documents if the board wants.
So what do you recommend? In and around, Dave, you. You're the lawyer.
I think it would probably help to put it in, the public has raised it and technical, it's not here. We should be open with our thoughts if that's going to help.
Done.
Yeah.
Yeah,
One back in there.
You're talking about putting it in the part 3, right?
I was really talking about putting it in C and D.
Okay.
But in the C and D has a section, and the public should be aware of this. the C and D, the draft resolution adopts the part three as its findings, but also has a separate section on findings called other factors or additional factors in support of this resolution, where we put facts that are not necessarily part of the strict environmental review as brought through the part two. The part two identifies the questions to be answered in the part three. There are some other questions that could be outside of that for whatever reason, and this is one of them. So those are going in the section in the resolution that says further support for this determination. And I think I have 4 points in there, and this would be a fifth one. By the way, one of the points in there is the discussion of the alleged conflict of interest relating to Mount Allen, as that's also in there extensively. And we can put this short message in there which says that's why we didn't look at that zoning issue.
Yeah,
And we did, let's put the citation to the state case.
Okay, we're good.
Any other thoughts?
We good with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll amend the C and the C and D resolution, put that in there.
Yeah.
That way once.
Right then.
Does the board have anything else they want to comment on?
Yeah, I found, it's a really small thing, it's a typo on, just, I think it was in the page 10, but need a space between this and guidance. I think it's in the draft, part 3. But it's like red pencil stuff, so
Email it to me.
I will, yeah. But I thought that, you know, I know we went through several different iterations of the different drafts and the part 3 and the C and D, and I think it does serve as a really good roadmap for the process. So I wanted to acknowledge, you know, everybody's work on that. So I think it's very, very,
The two Daves worked on that,
yeah, well, the work shows.
and I made color commentary when appropriate. Okay, anything else?
I have one. I don't really want to get into weeds on this. It's more maybe an
don't.
observation. I won't. I'm not going to. You guys can't either. Okay. Under on the C and D, the conditions section, it lacks some of the specificity that the part 3 includes. And so my observation is that I don't know if it matters or not, but it isn't as specific. So for example, an example of this would be the bat tree cutting limitations. It doesn't give specific dates, it just says we will limit the bat cutting
Well, it says
window.
comply, right?
Yeah, and so I guess,
You're talking about the individual 25 conditions?
yes, so
Okay.
some of them are fine, but some of them do have more refined specificity in the
Yeah, it
part
does.
3.
Can I
Should
just-
that be brought up? Yeah.
The critical thing for that is whether the stuff that is written, without the further detail that we're suggesting, is enough to justify the C and D. In other words, all the details don't have to be decided in the conditions in the C and D. They do have to be decided in the conditions for the site plan approval. So
Yes.
whatever condition you're worried about that not completely laid out in the C and D is going to be in the site plan approval. And there's nothing wrong with the two of them saying the same thing, but it's okay if the C and D falls a little bit short of the specific, like for instance, in the current draft of the C and D doesn't have the specification, for example, on the height with respect to the top of the tree that was basically decided tonight.
Okay.
As
That's
long as
fine.
we have enough there to justify a C and D, we're fine. But if you feel that it either needs more because you want to see it, so you feel better about it, or you feel that it needs it for the C and D, go ahead and draft the changes and
Okay.
we'll post them.
Well, you know.
Talking about changes, we're really scribbling again this time, even though we had 3 weeks. Because there was a lot to do. So I'd just like to ask you by Wednesday night of this week, which gives you 2 days, if there's anything else, please get it to myself, Dave Church, and to Stacy. If it's simple spelling, Stacy and Dave, they'll take care of it. If it's something that needs Dave Gordon's input, fine. So just send it to myself, Dave Church, and send it to Dave Gordon also, and Stacy.
I mean, I took a look at it before the meeting. I don't think I have any material other than what we just talked about, but I'll take another look at it.
Okay, so Wednesday, please, Wednesday at midnight, so we can get it all done by Thursday and post it over the weekend coming for the next meeting of April 15th. All right, Zoya?
Quick question. I read it a couple of days ago, anything changed today significantly?
No,
So I need to read it again.
well, it was posted yesterday, the
Yeah,
CMD was
I
posted
read it, so-
yesterday. the-
CMD was
the poster is
yesterday.
Posted on Saturday,
Thursday.
Thursday. So nothing, other than the paragraph that I read on the zoning, which actually hasn't changed, so no, those are still good. It'll be different,
Sorry, it's like reading,
Yeah.
Dostoevsky, just, you should be able to, do it, no, in an evening.
Don't deprive yourself. Don't
Don't
deprive.
hold back.
I was able to pronounce that name, I couldn't pronounce the other one.
I wanna go home and charge my phone, remember?
Okay, anything else? Hans? You look like you.
If you need to charge, I will try.
He's
He's
metaphorical.
just breaking.
He's just got an hour drive home, so
I tried to. Give me a
appreciate it.
All right, and, okay, I think, we do have another matter. There is a, proposed local law that we got from the town board that they want us to make some comments on. If you had a chance to look at it, the town is attempting to put in a moratorium against BESS's
Temporary moratorium.
temporary moratorium of 6 months.
It's to
To give them time to come up with specific, a specific portion of the code to deal with battery storage devices, large battery storage devices, not what you might put in your house against, next to your computer, but the large ones that have a tendency to.
So they're asking for,
They want our input only on the moratorium,
oh,
not with regards to whatever it is that they write during that moratorium in terms of the code, similar to the code for cell towers. And when they do that, they're required by law to come back to us and say, here's the law that we wrote during this moratorium. What do you think? The moratorium is for 6 months and they have the opportunity to extend it for another 6 months.
Okay.
I don't believe they have to come back to us for that. They can just extend it.
well, I respect it. If they feel like they need more time, they need more time.
Okay, so I'll make that comment to them.
I have.
Hans.
I don't know.
Go ahead, Hans.
So
Yeah, no, you-
there is a problem in post moratorium, and I had exchange with the supervisor, and the supervisor acknowledged that they were wrong in the definition, because the definition says battery storage system is one or more devices assembled together capable of storing energy in order to supply electric energy at any future time. That would include any home storage device.
I thought they put in there
They're
with the
gonna-
exception
They're gonna
of,
limit. So it's designed, they're gonna change it because I spoke to her about it.
Yeah, and she agreed with me.
Okay.
That this is.
But it was vague, because it would have, the way it was originally written, it would have precluded a Tesla power wall in your house as well as a mega place. So
Okay.
they were gonna adopt languages under a certain, above a certain kilowatt.
so,
The other thing.
Hans, could you send me an email tonight?
I forward you.
Before you could-
Forward you,
Send me something,
yeah, I.
recommended verbiage. Peter, you had something?
But they're not asking about the input of the contents right now. These are basically,
They just want to know, do we agree with the moratorium and the provisions of the moratorium? Not the content of the law that they're gonna write during that
Right.
moratorium. So we have the length of the moratorium, we have the definition of. What is it, BEES or BESS?
Yes.
Best.
And I mean, it's part, we have to acknowledge, it's part, if you're serious about green energy. It's part of a green energy environment, and there are issues, and it's to make green energy more efficient and to promote it in the town. You need these devices.
Yeah. So hold that thought for 6 months down the road when we get the proposed law.
And I think the planning board frankly would be perfectly able to handle these situations. I don't think we need to have a.
Just like we're handling the cell tower, right?
No, I think that what they're concerned about is the fact that they're coming out very strong in many towns in New York.
Right.
And catching towns unawares or off guard, and so they wanna make sure that it gets put in the right place. So we don't have a problem like cell phones in
It's-
residential areas.
Yeah, well, I was
it's-
about to say, we're not the only town that's.
No.
It's preemptively coming up with a law to deal with this stuff.
Yes, totally. Yeah.
Uh,
About where they can be, how they have to be put together, size and things like that. Because there have been big incidents with these that have gone on, and there's one in Warwick.
there's two, the same
Yeah,
one exploded
3 times that same one.
3 times.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was, I mean, I guess we wait for the draft law to come out, but that's an observation I have. I am aware that numerous towns in the area have banned
Yeah.
this, and which what will end up happening is those towns that do permit it, everyone's gonna be pushed into those locations because it's functionally the only areas where they can do it. So I think part of drafting the law also has to consider that by banning it in other areas and to push us.
Yeah,
in
it
this
migrate
area,
someplace
thinking
else.
About,
Well, there's also a potential that if all towns ban it, and that will stop it.
I completely agree, because it's part of the clean energy, yeah.
It's also pending legislation in Albany, being proposed by industry to get the legislature to ban bans.
Yeah, to overrule home rule.
Yeah.
Ban what?
Yeah,
Ban any bans
Ban
of
the ban.
these,
Oh,
yeah.
ban the ban. I can see the poster now.
well, that's
Ban
what,
the
that's
ban.
an analog of the cell tower thing. It's an analog of Article 10 and Article 7. I mean,
Yeah.
when energy issues or communications issues come up, very often the government will preempt local home rule. We get
Yeah.
subdivisions, they get, they decide on power plants and pipelines and other things and
Group homes, there's
yeah, I mean,
there's dozens of uses
Well,
that are preempted by state or federal law.
a couple of months ago, yeah, I mean, I think we're gonna see more of that. And the governor tried to do it a couple of years ago on housing and on multi-family housing, and that did not work, but.
Doing it again?
They're
What?
doing it now, yeah. Again,
So. Again, the jurisdiction that we have to do secret reviews of land use applications is, we take that seriously and we have a lot of discretion, but to the extent that, the extent that other boards and other towns have been doing these things and not always in the interest of where the industry wants to go, whether it's the industry's private profit or the need of the public to have power plants and things like that. The state is stepping in, and so the feds.
Okay, so I'll relay that information we'll do that tomorrow.
And then give those papers,
Right.
the papers, also the referral forms. And the responsible.
I have it somewhere in this pile. I can do that. There it is.
Sweet, I'm thinking about it.
All right, anything else? If not, I'll entertain a motion to,
I second.
no, I said I would entertain a motion. You're first.
You got it first.
I second.
Second. All in favor? of